Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 182nd live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I am your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's episode, we have a very special review, as it is our very first, I guess, NPC, you would call it, review. It's not a playable character as such, although I'm sure a DM could do that, but it is intended to be an NPC or type of specialty encounter that you can drop into your realm. So I'm really curious to see what this is, because I have a little bit of back knowledge on the lore. We've talked about this on a previous stream, but now we're finally getting to see its build. So join us as we look at Cart's Decker, the living deck of many things.
Alrighty. Who did it? Who did it? Who was it? Who's out here trying to swap everything around? Oh, let me look. It was Cart. Wild. Okay. I appreciate you. So Cart, I will be having a couple of questions for you as we go through this, mostly because there were some pieces that I wasn't sure if I read wrong, or because it looked like some of the spots might be contradicting itself. So, like, I didn't know if every single personality has both an aura and a legendary action, or if there was supposed to be either or. So, because there was one that looked like it was either or, but then was one that showed all of them having one. So we'll get to that when we're at that spot. But I'm excited. People who watch the edited videos on YouTube are gonna be confused when yep. It's gonna be crazy, man. I don't know why you guys keep doing this to me, to yourselves, but Vortex is the pro. I'm just the assistant stand-in temporarily. So we'll see what we can do. But I'm here for it. No, I honestly, I had a lot of fun putting this one together. Again, I was thank you kindly. All right, timer is on. 30 minutes. I gotta make sure to actually look at it so I actually know when the time is up.
You'll be flashing yellow when it's up.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So, I'm excited. Is there anything else you wanted to go over before we get it? Cool beans.
And ready.
Then let's get to it. We are going over the Decker, the living deck of many things, a humanoid, I don't know if you want to call it living item, a creature, a NPC, whatever. But the source is DKY or DXY25 card. Let's go over your origin. Once a mortal wished for mastery over fate, but the deck of many things cannot be mastered, only invoked. The wish instead birthed Decker, a being made of chance, fate, and dangerous potential, bound together by the divine magic and the fickle lawlessness of the cosmos. Now Decker walks the realms in a humanoid guise, every inch of them stitched with arcane threads, reality quirking around them like a shuffled hand waiting to be drawn.
Interesting. You'll have to scroll down just a little.
Wild. Oh, apologies. That's very interesting. So a little bit different than what you would initially mention, just being in a shopkeep and some adventurers saying screw you, unless that's what those adventurers did, is they cast the wish spell.
That's what I think that was the point. I think he pulled the wish spell and then he either used wish to do it or he pulled the wish spell.
They pulled the wish card from the okay.
I can't remember which one.
Interesting. Okay.
Car can let us know what the original origin
was. Okay. I'm here for it. So let's go into this legendary trait real quick, which is drawn identity. And from what I gathered putting this together, it feels like this is the almost essence of what this NPC is. So and so let's read it real quick. Once every 7 in-game days, Decker's identity is reshuffled as they sleep or rest. They awaken embodying the essence of a deck of many things card. This determines their personality, a unique spell set / ability, a legendary action, and a special aura or trait. And this is the table that they gave us for that. So this is something I mentioned when you stepped out of the room that I was gonna go over with Cart when we get to that point. But there were a couple of spots in their original submission where it seemed like there was only there was a legendary action for each of them, but there was also a part where it looked like there was only a legendary action or an aura for each of them. So just wanted to confirm what was intended for each one of these personalities, if they were each supposed to have both or if they're only supposed to have one, depending upon it. But this table here lays out kind of the base for what each card would give you. So on a 1, you would get the Sun card. Your signature spells would be Mass Heal and Aura Vitality. Your personality would be Inspires Courage, and the legendary action is called Sunburst, and that we'll actually get to when we get into the actual stat block. The stat block has all the legendary actions and the auras and stuff like that in it.
Good answer.
Okay. I mentioned earlier I tried to write this in aspect of a DM can pick this up at their own regard. Okay. They're supposed to have both, but this is still the inner workings of getting it complete, bouncing the effects of each card and their personalities is very difficult in making sure they do not have things too powerful, but things powerful enough. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think a lot of that can be helped when it comes to things like how often you allow them to use it, like whether you put certain limitations on what they have.
Yeah.
But let's finish going through this table real quick before we get to the for the actual stat block. So we have the Sun card, Mass Heal, Aura Vitality. The personality Inspires Courage, and the legendary action is called Sunburst. Or you could get the Moon. Your signature spells are Dream and Dominate Person. Your personality is Aloof and Surreal. And your legendary action is called Vanish into Mist. Interesting. Number 3, you get the Void. Your spells are Maze and Disintegrate. Wild. You get Emotionless and Hollow. Is Emotion? Oh, Emotionless and Hollow is their personality. I totally thought that was a spell for some reason. Then you get a legendary action called Gravity Sink. As the Jester, you get Polymorph and Tasha's. I'm not sure which Tasha's that is specifically. There's like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, but I'm pretty sure there's some other Tasha's spells. So I feel like I'm not sure which one that would be, but we can. I don't know if you would have a clarification. It's supposed to be Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Okay, perfect. And then their personality type is absurd and unpredictable. Their legendary action is Mirror Prank. Oh, that's gonna be wild. I mean, you are a jester, so pranking people makes sense. You have the Rogue, which gives you invisibility and Dimension Door. I feel like that's fairly fitting. Flirty and Sly. I don't know about flirty, but Sly works for me. Then you have Trick Step as a legendary action, which is very interesting. Next, you have Don John card. Now, there is a website, like a D&D website called Don John. I'm very curious if they got it from this. I'm not really sure what that card does in the deck, but regardless, signature spells are Force Cage, Wall of Force. Their personality is Speak Slow, I'm assuming, and Methodical. And their legendary action is Lockdown. Next, we have the Fates. They get the spells Time Stop and Legend Lore. Legend Lore is very interesting. They have Speaks in Future Tense. That's kind of Yoda talk would that even sound like?
depends on how you use it as a DM. You would either be prophetic in a vague way, or you just sound really confusing. Both are valid. I'm not saying that one's better than the other,
Sure.
but as a DM, you would either go painstakingly through the point of they would speak very little, but when they spoke, they would spoke of things not yet done, as in like, will you help us? And it's like, this one will make a decision when the time is right. Is
Interesting.
like do you know the future?
Okay.
Like based on what you say, do you know the future? And be like, you will after the future happens, or you will when the future becomes the past. Like you could say things in a way where you could be very vague, or you just constantly say, who are you? Be like, I will be someone you know. Like you never have to actually say truth.
Right.
So again, be prophetic with truth and what the DM can predict, or you just constantly never say anything.
Right.
And both are valid. Both are valid,
Okay.
but that's how I would offer up to a DM out there. How would I run that?
How would you run that type of...
Those are the two ways that I would do it to be consistent and allow your players entertainment. Because anything else you do, trying to make up a whole speech pattern just for that, it's too difficult if you're not directly giving them information and then just being very, very minimal with your words, or you just have to answer in a way that is just like, again, if you don't know something, you don't know it, kind of BS.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Take it easy, Huelepa.
Deuces, Huelepa. Have a good night. And the what is it? The legendary action for this one is going to be Fate Rewrite, which kind of makes sense. Next, you have the Flames with Firestorm and Meteor Swarm Wild. You have Raging and Theatrical for their personality type. And you have Flame Burst for their legendary action. Next is the Knight with Guardian of Faith and Find Steed, kind of paladin-ish vibes. Then you have Noble and Protective with their legendary action being Intercede. Next, you have the Skull with the spells Finger of Death and Circle of Death. Wild, so much death. You have Grim Humor as their personality and Grave Pulse as their legendary action. You have the Key, which is Arcane Gate and Teleport. Very, very movement based. I kind of like that.
I get why it's under the Key.
Right? Obsessed with unlocking things. And then you have your legendary action called Steal Magic. Okay. Then you have the Star with the Wish, partial effect for a spell, as well as Mass Suggestion. The personality is Radiant and Idealistic with legendary action called Blessing of the Star.
Get a scroll too.
I am fortunately at the bottom. Do I make the screen smaller?
No, don't bother. It's just defect.
The last one is going to be the balance, and you get the spells Anti-Magic Field and Zone of Truth with Cold and Logical personality type, and their legendary action is Moral Inversion.
Okay, so that's all we have so far, and then the next page is going to go into all of this.
Yes. The stat block will have a representation of all this stuff, but what are your initial thoughts so far? A little bit of an intro, kind of the every 7 days they become a new one of these.
I had a question to Cart in chat.
Okay.
I'm waiting for that answer to... Do you want my honest answer?
So it says, your question was, so I know this wasn't an intended creation at first, but since you are writing it up, what would you say your intent or goal for the NPC was? Okay, what was its role in the world, kind of?
So here's my philosophy before I get into my response.
Sure.
That when you create something, there has to be an intent behind it, right? Like we create NPCs, we create players, we create characters with the intent to go through an adventure and a story and experience. You create a BBEG to push the plot along and give them an end goal. You create NPCs to guide or hinder or to provide a service. Like everything that's what we call it balancing, right?
Sure.
Everything has an intent or a goal. It feeds a purpose one way or the other. So I know that sometimes the more creative DMs out there that have a more dynamic game like we do, sometimes NPCs are created out of the environment and not out of necessity. I don't always create an NPC because I need them to accomplish something. Sometimes an NPC is created something like this, where it wasn't intended. It was just a byproduct of the game that we have played. So when it comes down to that, that's fine, right? In your own game, if you have an NPC that doesn't have a purpose, it's just there now, fine. But when you write it up like this, I always look for what is it trying to accomplish, because for me to pick it up as, like universally, for someone to say, hey, this is something I could get, what would be the point other than this is an experience to have? Because it's hard to sell, in my opinion, just an experience. Like if you're going to homebrew something and have me want to use it, it's got to be more than just an experience, because honestly, that's kind of what, no offense, but that's what the book is for. Like that's what modules and the general lore is for. And that's what you as a DM is for, to give me an experience that no other DM will.
Yes.
But if you're trying to offer something to every DM has to, in my opinion, when you look at it, you have to understand what it's doing. Weapons put out damage, or they are magical. Spells have effects, whether they're helpful or bad against the enemies. So that's just my question is, if this is being offered out, what would be the intent or the implied goal for a DM to pick this up? And if it is only environmental or just experimental, like it's just a fun idea, that's fine. That's not a wrong answer, but that answer will definitely help me
see
with
what we're
my
getting
actual
into.
response.
Yeah. So it looks like Cart does have some sort of answer in here. Says, my intent goal for this is to be a hallmark for any DM who needs a little bit of mixed creation. If you need or want hosts to never let your word falter in experience. So my initial thought when I read something like that, it says, hold on, this character can be considered ally, acquaintance, longtime friend, and world ender all at once, or an enemy.
Yeah.
So what this makes me feel like is it's almost like if you need an NPC to be somewhere that you might not have a reason for it to be somewhere, and like you have all of these options for different personality types, it's almost like the DM can like pick and choose, hey, but this could work, this could be the answer to why this makes sense being in this particular situation because of who and what he is, and because of its somewhat randomness.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't buy it. Like to be completely honest, no one's going to read this and go, oh, I'm going to keep this because it has 13 options and I'm always going to be able to throw this in there. Like that's just creating them. Like you're basically giving me 12 different NPCs. So the concept is great as a concept of making the deck of many things like alive and sentient. I love this idea. I'm going to say so far, the way that this is presented, it's too messy. There is so much going on here because there's a couple different layers that I just go through immediately. I guess a DM, like, you want me to take this, but how long is this thing going to be around? Like the average person does not play a campaign that will last long enough for this character to come up enough for the role to matter. Like, how many times do I have to, like, the whole concept of it resets every 7 days.
Sure.
Unless this is going to be a permanent NPC in the game, like through the campaign, it's going to be really hard to reflect that. Also, I just feel like it's going to be more chaotic. I feel like the DM would end up just choosing, right?
Okay.
So I feel like in the longevity point, there's too much here. And this is honestly coming from a DM who spent the last, 15 years building my realm and realizing that sometimes you can put too much detail into something that will never see the light of day, right? It's kind of like when you want to get new players into your realm and you give them, a 5-page essay on the lore that they're never going to interact with, right?
Sure.
It's hard to get that investment. And with something like this, as a person that could like start in the very beginning, like of the campaign and work with you and just kind of be always there,
yeah,
more likely. But more often than not, campaigns don't go that long. Again, 13. How many, sessions have to go in between before you actually introduce them again? So I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. It's just, it is a lot to basically have as one character, like to have as one thing for a DM to control. And this is just a lot. I mean, what DM wants a 5-pager to roll and then go, oh, it's this character. It kind of feels like it's just trying to be too many things. But I will say this, all of this is not for loss though, because when you were reading out all of these things, my mentality was like, my first instinct was, I love this concept, but while it's interesting to have him change personalities, I think this is too much. The personality, the spells, the abilities, the legendary, like it's just far too much to keep track of and have constantly changing. I think I would probably have more of a chaotic character whose personality just never seems to be the same every time you meet him, and just kind of work that into it myself instead of having
less
this
specific and more just kind of vague.
Yes, but going one step further, if you wanted this to be more than just an NPC, like Cart keeps mentioning World Ender, I'm thinking, imagine that this thing, you find out that a deck of many things came sentient, right? And it becomes a world-ending BBEG.
Sure.
And then you find out that, like, let's say it puts out, you meet it. Like, it's the big, like, reveal. You meet this thing, and it gives you, like, a prophecy. It says, you will meet my forms before the world shall end. Like, you give it a prophecy like that.
Interesting.
And then you treat every one of these as a mini boss. You have to defeat everyone. Now, whether this is like a linear story, or just say, here's the map, guys, and here's all the cards. And the prophecies, the game starts with the deck of many things, the BBEG, saying, you will meet every one of me. And then what you do is at the very end, so they fought every version of you. They fought every card.
Imagine like each card like burns up after you beat him or whatever.
And then the BBEG. Then you roll or you pull a card, and it's random. The final BBEG fight is a random one of one they've already fought, but boosted. So like every version of these would be written as Cart has it, but then we could add like one or two of the big boss battle
I even
aspects.
like the idea of I dig that, but instead of just it being one random, like as you go throughout the fight, like how there's different like stages of certain fights, like different boss fights will have different like phases, and it'll like change throughout. So like it starts off like this, and then you get this one, and then you get this one after that. But like you said, they're all boosted. But
yeah, I feel like 13 options for an NPC is just a lot.
Yes,
especially for a DM who, again, it's one thing to bring in an NPC that has a really like it's like making an NPC that's a intelligent mimic, right? You can give that some cool features, but every DM's gonna decide how it came about and what its personality is. I feel like this is just asking too much from the DMs to incorporate and use. I feel like it's going to suffer from just being info overload, right? It's that analysis paralysis of, for DMs who don't want to roll and make it random, they're going to spend hours trying to figure out which one to use. And those that want to make it random, it could either be a super flop or an instant TPK, depending on so that's just my caution is when you were going over this, I was having the hardest time, like even in Hype. Imagine how long I'd have to run this NPC for it to come up enough for any of these to matter.
Sure.
But when I think of mini bosses that have small level powers that you go through all of them, and then the big boss is a random selection, like on the spot, or he'll change 3 times, like you said, in battle. And every time he'll change to a random different card. So you've already fought every version of him. So you kind of know his weaknesses, but you won't know which one you get until the very end. So you can't fully prep and just wipe him, but you have a tactical understanding of when he shifts into this form, like, oh, we've already fought that. We know what's coming.
Oh, I know how to handle that. I know what he can do. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my gut reaction is it's just too much.
It feels like a lot
for an NPC.
Okay.
But I want to keep going over it because I love the idea. I love the way the cards have been separated too. Like I really do like how these look and how they've been separated.
Themes, yeah.
It's just that when it comes to being a single NPC that can change throughout all of these, it's more of, this is so much work. I as a DM would just feel like I'm not going to run this because I'll never get through half of it. You know what I mean? I want something to be seen. Like if I'm going to add something to the campaign, I want it to be seen in full. And the only way you're going to do that is either put this thing with the party throughout the entire campaign, or make it a BBEG where they interact with it every now and again.
Got you. Okay. I'm actually curious. Cart, let me know if you have an answer to this, but does the character change appearance every time they change personalities, or do they look exactly the same every time you meet them, so you'd recognize them if you saw them in these different personality types?
That's interesting.
Um,
Like they're like, I would like it to where they look different. Kind of like how if you think about the face cards, they all have a different look, and tarot cards, they all look different.
yeah.
It would be really cool that it looks like the tarot card or the closest when it's like this death card, it looks like a skeleton, looks like a lich. But whatever clothes it's wearing, the clothes would match, right? So it would match.
Sure.
But the design of the clothes should have been the back of the card.
Oh, that would be clean.
So if it's in
that
robes, the robes are like the card design. But then if it's in another form, it may look different, but you'll always know it by the pattern of its clothes because it's the back of a tarot card.
Okay, that's wild.
I could totally I would do that. I would make it to where it just like playing cards, how they all have the same back. I would just make it to where you may not recognize him at first, but the moment you recognize the pattern of his clothes, you're like, oh my God, that's him. That's his new reincarnation.
That's the one. I've seen that before. I've seen that design before. Oh, that's clean. That's clean.
Okay, cool. And it's a non-binary character, and they do all in fact look different. So yeah. So I like the idea that it switches into what what one of the cards is meant to look like, right?
Okay. Legitness. All right, clean.
And you can even go one step further as a DM. When you pull the sun card, it could have like glowing eyes, or it could have like one of those like kind of like the crown that looks like this way. So it's like looks more like a cleric.
Yeah.
And then when it's so I totally think that you could go all the way and manipulate what these look like. But yeah, my biggest concern is it's so much, and are people really gonna get to see it? Are they really gonna get through any of this?
Are they gonna get to like just see the fruit of all the stuff that's in here, or is it just gonna be like, oh, I only got to touch that piece today?
Yeah, and while I like the idea of trying to incorporate all the cards, it's more like what I would have done if you're not gonna, the other way that I would have done it without making all of these individuals is I just would have said Decker is an NPC and every card's an ability he has. So no, he's not a spellcaster, doesn't get to cast normal magic, doesn't get to do normal things. He is an NPC, and all of his abilities are just like a subclass. And you know how like if you counted up a subclass and its main class, you'd probably get about a dozen or so abilities. That's what I would look at as Decker. Is my preferred method would be say that he's quirky, say that his personality shifts all the time. Like I totally get that mindset. But for the cards, I'd feel better if they were represented as more if each one represents a specific power he has.
Like a thing that he can do. Okay. I could see that.
I could even see like each one being like a couple of them being categorized into like 3 or 4 categories. So whichever one he wants access to, he has to switch personalities.
Oh, interesting.
So again, these are ways that I would make it less complicated, but still keep the mindset that we have here.
Why does that remind me a little bit of I don't know if you watched that anime Don. It came out not too long ago, but it's
dun.
Pretty much. But the dude, when he goes into his superhero or superpowered state, he gets this like weird depressive like personality. Like he's normally this like super nerdy kid, kind of shy or whatever, but whenever he gets it, he turns into a superpowered state. He's just like, everything's such a drag, man. Like everything sucks, dude. I
like that though. I kind of like that quirk.
Right? It's kind of interesting. It's kind of wild, but I appreciate it.
Can you imagine a barbarian with that, where every time they rage, they become apathetic? So it's like, wow, you gotta rage. We're all gonna die. Yes. Wow. Do I fucking have to? Like, what's the point? Like, can we just not?
Wild. No, I love that. I love that so much. Okay. So if you're down, we can start looking at the stats of this thing.
Oh, a Joker persona would be interesting.
Oh, what's that?
Like having like a Joker card persona.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking of the actual Joker and what kind of like personality that would look like. I'm like, get out of here, dude. Okay. So
another way you could do it too. It's just I'm trying really hard to justify having all of these options, right?
Yeah.
But without turning it back into basically a deck of many things, right? Because you could say, hey, you can introduce this NPC, but when you first meet him, he offers you to pull a card, and that card is his personality from there on out with you. like, or the party or whatever. But again, it kind of locks that into no one really gets to
see the rest
see everything. So yeah, I just I'm just stuck on that. I'm just really stuck on being able to properly see it through.
Sure.
And get everything out of it in a timeline that the average gaming group would go through.
No, I get that.
But yeah, let's look at some of these actual abilities. I'm really curious to see what it can actually do.
Cart, you're gonna have to check me on this, because in your original submission you did not give me actual stats, meaning like the strength, dex, con, int, wiz, charisma, like but you did give me like saving throws and skills, so I was able to pull based off of some conjecture what these stats would likely be. Strength, I fully guessed because I had absolutely no idea what it was. So strength will probably be a lot lower than it is, but we'll see. But anyways, let's go over what we got. We're gonna start off up at the top. Character's name is Decker. They are a medium humanoid, a unique shape changer demigod NPC. They are chaotic neutral for their alignment. Their armor class is a 19 with something called Flickering Mantle. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I'm assuming that has something to do with their innate abilities. They have hit points of 250 as an average, spending 25 d10 plus 100 for their hit points. And that plus 100 is kind of where I was able to guesstimate the constitution bonus, because your constitution is usually multiplied by your level ish, and they did give us a CR for this character. It was CR of 18, so we have a general idea of like ish the level that it is.
That tracks.
So they also have their speed, 40-foot movement speed and a 30-foot flying speed with hover.
Interesting. I wonder, for me personally, I'm not upset about that, but my first instinct is that should only be available in certain forms.
That makes a lot of sense. And maybe it is, maybe they just put it on there as a general, but like, I totally agree with that.
Honestly, I wouldn't even mind if it just listed all of the speeds. And then, it's almost like each one would have like a different opportunity kind of thing.
That would be very interesting.
You'll have to start scrolling here soon.
Okay, so stats. What I came up with was a strength of 16. Again, they don't really have anything that uses that, so I'm assuming it might be a little bit lower, but that was just kind of, for something this high of a level, I assumed it might be around that. Their dexterity is an 18. Their constitution is a 20. Their intelligence is also a 20. Their wisdom is a 16, and their charisma is a 22. Only one that's over.
Personally,
20.
I probably would have put strength at 14 or 12. Given the rest of that to constitution, giving that up to 22.
Sure.
I love the dex and intelligence, and I'd even give so I would say drop strength down to 12, give constitution 22 and wisdom an 18, and I'd be fine with it.
Okay.
Just because of the type of creature that it is, you think this thing has been around so long, and when it became sentient, it probably somehow had all of the memories of its life. So I would really like to think that this thing would be a little bit boosted.
Putting it together, I am getting the impression that this is a charisma-based caster. Like, charisma is their spellcasting modifier or spellcasting trait. So just because a lot of number one, they are trained in their saving throws. This was also something that was slightly weird to me. When it comes to their saving throws and their skills, their saving throws would seem to be relatively on par for what they should be for these stats.
Yeah.
But their skills are all increased by 1 based upon these stats. So I unfortunately forgot to make this correction, but for your saving throws, it'll be a plus 10 to dexterity, a plus 9 to wisdom, a plus 12 to charisma. But in your skills, it'll be a plus 12 to arcana, a plus 13 to deception, a plus 10 to insight, and a plus 13 in persuasion. So that was the actual stats that we received. So just keep an eye, like these ones here are up by 1 comparatively.
Okay.
Damage resistances, they are resistant to force damage, psychic damage, and radiant damage. Their condition,
scroll for us.
The condition immunities are going to be charmed and frightened. And their senses are true sight of 120 feet and passive perception of 13.
Yeah, no, short, sweet, to the point. Charmed and frightened make perfect sense. Force, psychic, radiant make perfect sense.
Yep, agreed.
I'd honestly, just because of the deck of many things, kind of wanted to have a vulnerability to slashing damage. Just saying. Just because it would be the unique quality that you wouldn't think of, but when you find it out, you're like, that tracks.
You know what? I don't think it'd be too much, but I think that if they were resistant to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, but vulnerable to specifically magical slashing. So if you had just so you don't have some peasant coming up and slashing you.
But I got you. Yeah, magical cutting. Yeah. It just seems like it's one of those. We talked about this, I think, 2 streams ago. We do not add enough negatives when it comes to balancing. We tip, like, there's so many times
we'll lessen things, but adding negatives,
people will take away before they add something bad. And I like that. I like the idea of, we give things these immunities and we try to balance it out with, instead of immunity, we give it resistance. It's like, but why? Give it immunity, but then make it vulnerable to the opposite. Like, that's just as much of a valid balance as dropping something down. You know what I mean? If you want an immunity, add a vulnerability, or drop the immunity to a resistance. Both of those, I think, are the same in weight.
Yeah.
And I think I want to start seeing that more. I want to encourage that, especially when we do the APHV, is on these builds, think about the cost, right? It has all of this magic, but it used to be a deck of cards. It's got to have a vulnerability somehow. Maybe it's vulnerable to fire. Just the idea that it shouldn't, everything has to be all powerful, but we always look at what things can do or what they're best at, never what they're not good at.
Wild. No, I like that.
Susceptible to poison? That would be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the few creatures in D&D and fucking very, very rarely do you ever see a poison vulnerability or anything like that.
This is true.
He's never been in like a mortal form before, so you could say like poison, disease, those things are vulnerable just because
he doesn't know how to handle. I mean, what is his body? Although it did say at the beginning that he was, stitched together with let me read that one more time.
Or acid, because he's made out of paper. You could do acid, or he's,
stitched with arcane threads.
Yeah,
reality quirking around him.
So there's some things. There's some things we can talk about.
Most definitely. And lastly, up there in the stats, it says that they speak all languages and they have telepathy up to 120 feet.
Not bad.
Okay, so we have a couple of actions here. Only the 2. We have first is reality swipe. This is a melee spell attack. It's a +12 to hit, a reach of 5. On a hit, they take an average of 33 5d10 plus 6 force damage. The target must succeed on a DC 18 charisma saving throw or suffer a random deck effect from the DM's list. Or from the list, DM's discretion. Now, I'm assuming that is... correct me if I'm wrong, Cart, but is that random deck effect from the legendary actions? Is it from the auras, or is it from something other than that?
New cup move down.
New cup move down.
Their time up.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
New cup move down. All right. Yeah, so what was the last question that you had?
At the end of reality swipe, it's talking about there's a random effect from the list, and I'm trying to determine what list they're referring to, whether it's the list that we ran through earlier, looking at all of the legendary actions, or if it is a different list that we'll likely get to.
I see what you say. Yeah, it's got to be one of the legendary actions because there's no other mention of a
unless it's
effect.
in the other, because unfortunately I did not have enough time to organize the plot hooks page. There could be some information on the plot hooks page.
Cart's not sure if they sent that in correctly or not, but they think they made a list about it. Not sure if it made it into the final draft, but it was supposed to be somewhat like Wild Magic Surge. So it was supposed to be a list of semi-wild magic.
I don't think I ran into anything like that.
Just kind of goes quick. Okay, yeah, nothing here. That looks like it's that. So yeah, and let's see. These are just auras, and then those are legendary actions. Okay, yeah. So there would have been a separate list of
that's supposed to
that could happen.
That's supposed to be associated with the reality swipe. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And then we move on to card cast at a recharge of 5 or a 6. Decker snaps their fingers, conjuring a shimmering illusionary card that detonates or alters reality. Effect depends on current personas, such as the Flames, 60 feet, line of fire, dex save DC 18 for 1d6 fire damage. The Don John, target is imprisoned in a pocket plane for 1 minute. Wisdom save ends early. Or the Jester, target in 20-foot radius makes a wisdom save or falls prone, laughing uncontrollably.
Interesting.
So it says such as these are just examples.
It makes me feel like there's another list with more of these.
So Card, is this meant to be DM discretion and these are just examples, or is there a whole other list of...
Some of those seem similar to the
let's see. So one of them, John, anti-teleport field, and then Decker forces one target to make a save or be restrained. So it's very similar to that in terms of this one's they're imprisoned. So I'm assuming that there's got to be another list here.
Yeah.
Or maybe this wasn't completed.
Look at the Flames under the legendary actions and see
60 foot and then 60-10. Flames 60-10 and a 60 foot. Okay, yeah.
So it seems to be, it's basically they...
Okay, it is DM discretion, and this is just a starter list until Cart finishes it out.
Got you.
So the idea being that they'll be able to cast one of their own cards, but that card will be specific to the personality that they're a hold of.
Okay.
And that's, again, where mentioning what I said before, if these aren't all individual personalities like their minions and leading up to a boss fight, this would be an opportunity to say this is one of Decker's special powers. Instead of having normal spell casting, kind of like Gambit, he can throw a card and say every so many days or whatever it refreshes his deck. But basically, like Gambit, every card has a unique ranged attack or something like that.
Yeah,
similar to the Cloak of Many Patches or the Cloak of Many Things, where it has all of the patches and you rip the patch off and it becomes the item.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's not the Cloak of Many Things,
It's
right?
It's not. I will find it.
But yes, so that's how I would almost consider how card cast should work, is instead of the personalities, make every card similar to that where he can throw the cards, and that's where you could have the week reset. So for a week, he has 52 special abilities, or however many you want to give him in his deck cards, right?
Right.
And he has to wait for them to reset. Because that would be really interesting. I do like some of these options. The pocket dimension is kind of interesting. And these could be justified as being so powerful if you can only do one at a time per reset.
Oh, yeah.
Like, per shuffle, you could say like the deck randomly shuffles every, 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
So then, and what would be really more interesting too is you can even make it to where it's not under his control. He can randomly grab a card from his own deck and throw it at you, which will
Robe of useful items. That's what the thing is called.
Robe of useful items, yes.
Yeah, that's
so you could even do that where card cast is literally just one random card at random. It'll do that effect, and then every 7 days his deck will randomly shuffle, therefore resetting the randomness that he can just pull a card out.
Got you. Okay.
So those are ways that I feel would make it more approachable to the standard DM as an NPC. An NPC that can do really unique things completely dedicated to their backstory.
Sure.
I think is the better way to go than to having all of the personalities, because one NPC that can do all of this sounds a little bit more feasible than 13 NPCs I have to keep in mind.
Sure.
Also thinking about doing the original campaign with Decker. If there should have been a KO system, having him set an amount of health. If he took as much in one round, he'd completely knock his personality into one of the random ones. That's funny. So if he takes enough damage, he would be knocked into another personality.
Oh, see,
I just like that.
That's kind of what I was thinking about when I was talking about like the different stages. Like, you know, as soon as you get them down to certain health, there, boom, there's somebody else. Especially if you really don't like one of them, be like, yeah, blow everything you have on this dude because we don't want to deal with him.
Just for a fun one, you could say that anytime Decker takes damage, the DM has to roll an amount equal to the damage, like the damaged roll, right? So not the damage output, but the damage die. So let's say someone attacks him with the 1d20 or like a d20, right?
Okay.
If he hits, the DM has to roll a d20. You know, if they do 2d6, the DM rolls a d12.
Okay.
If the DM rolls the same number as the amount of damage taken, then it would automatically switch personalities.
Oh.
So it's just like a chance happening.
Interesting.
So every time he takes damage, if he takes the damage, like, so it's like if you're about to roll d20 and then I roll a d20 and say, if you do 11 damage to me, you'll knock me into another personality.
I think that's kind of interesting. I like that.
You'd probably, especially if he's an enemy, you'd probably get a lot more personalities out of him.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So now we move on to legendary actions. Decker can make 3 legendary actions depending on which card personality is active. Only 1 legendary action option can be used at one time and only at the end of another creature's turn. So Fenrir. No, that's not Fenrir. This one gains their legendary action.
Rip.
Each of their turn.
I did not update that. So for this, that is just the standard legendary action text, with the exception of I inserted the part that says depending upon the card's personality, because only one of these is going to be available per personality.
One legendary action.
So,
for each.
I don't know if Cart had intended them to have 3 legendary actions, but that is what legendary action economy looks like. You get 3. So,
I'm assuming it was going to be 3.
But yeah, so that's just where we're starting off for this. And so now we actually get to see what all those legendary items I listed off earlier, or actions earlier, actually get to do.
Yeah, and having different personalities have like different motives, so it's not just a different character, but it's a totally different individual.
Right.
So you're fighting one and suddenly it becomes your ally, suddenly it just doesn't care about you.
Right.
Like that could,
what the heck, man? We were hanging out.
Right.
Sorry, I took too much damage. I don't care about you anymore.
That's exactly like I suddenly don't care about any of this. Bye.
Wild.
Or you're halfway through the battle, you're in a treasure room, and it switches to, which one was that? The which one did it mention that in? The key. Can you imagine you're halfway through battle, you force it into the key, and then suddenly it just goes to the nearest chest? Like, I know we're in a fight, guys, but hang on, just one sec. What if the weapon I need to defeat the BBEG is in this? Just let me unlock this chest real quick.
I'll be with you in a minute, guys. Wild.
And that's how you would run that personality, is every unlocked door or anything that's locked is almost like a curse to the personality. Similar to how their, curses work, where you just assume that this is the best thing ever.
Sure.
It will solve all of your problems. Imagine that's what this personality thinks. Anytime they can sense something's locked, and if they do, they're just obsessed with, this will solve all of our problems. You're in the middle of a fight, it's in this chest. The solution's in this chest.
This is gonna save us,
right?
It's gonna save you. It's gonna save me.
Everything, the ceiling's collapsing on you guys. Behind this door is the exit. I don't care that we saw that there's nothing behind this door. It's an exit now.
It is now. We locked the door behind us. I gotta unlock it, bro.
That's what happened when they had the sun in the middle of the night. It switched over to death. My whole thing for him was the goals were short-sighted and permanent. Yep. I used to work until that part. And that's kind of the cool thing, is being able to it's such a cool idea, but it's hard to know you're going to be able to get the most use out of this if it's all one in one individual. All right, so let's look at these legendary actions. We'll flip-flop. We'll actually do both. We'll read the legendary action and the aura. That way. That way we don't have to keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
All right, starting with Sunburst, the Sun card. Deck for his legendary action, Decker heals one ally within 60 feet for 48 HP. and has the aura ability that allies within 30 feet gain +1 to all saving throws.
Okay, similar to a paladin sometimes, except
I'm-
I think his might be a little bit more than that.
I'm not upset about that. Usually because, usually creatures get more than one legendary action, right? So each personality is only getting one. So each personality
Correct.
is a little bit reduced.
Sure.
So I wouldn't mind letting the auras have a little bit more, like, obviously the sun, I would probably assume that it also has like an amount of light that it sheds.
Sure.
So if it's in sun form, you can see in dark. So things like that I could see, but I like the saving throws and I don't mind the healing. So if they pull the moon card, vanish into mist, Decker becomes invisible until the end of the next turn as a legendary action. And the aura, whilst conscious, scrying and divination spells within 60 feet fail automatically.
Okay,
So-
interesting.
I get that. I
Wild.
get that.
So does that mean if your friend is trying to scry, it doesn't work?
I think just everything is, it's a bubble. It's
Okay.
a bubble around.
But what if somebody's like a mile away from you and trying to scry on you?
That's the whole point. Yeah, no, nothing. I think the whole point is anything that's targeted around you.
Oh, that's targeted around you.
That's
so
how I read it.
would you say somebody that's sitting next to
Yeah.
you could scry on somebody 100 miles away?
It says scrying and divination spells within 60 feet fail. I don't know if that's cast within 60 feet or targeted within 60 feet. And that might be an addition thing because I would read that as within 60 feet, no one can see into
I
the bubble.
would, just for articulation purposes, I would say one, the other, or both, if
Yes.
that's what's intended.
Because I don't know why you would stop someone from scrying within 60 feet of you because they wouldn't be scrying on you within 60 feet of you.
Because you're here. Yeah, exactly.
They're right there within 60 feet of you. But if they were very, very far away and trying to nail down your position, if your 5 foot square was invisible, but they could see the rest of the room, they would know where you are.
Yeah.
But if an entire room's invisible to their scrying, they
Yeah.
have no idea where you're standing.
Other
Other
than
than
in that room. All right, just fireball the whole room.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
yeah.
see what happens.
It was supposed to be targeted, my bad. Yeah, so the targeted area. Okay.
Okay, got you. That makes sense.
So if they're in the void card, gravity sink, their legendary action, target makes a constitution save or is restrained in a gravity well for 1 turn. So just the restrained for 1 turn.
Cool.
And their aura, the void aura, a 10-foot anti-magic pulse suppresses spells of 3rd level and lower.
Wild.
Okay,
Love that.
so mostly touch spells.
And it doesn't dispel them, it just suppresses them.
Yeah, it just means that you can't basically cast within 10 feet of them. So any flame hand and all of that kind of stuff wouldn't work, or
Got
flame
you.
touch or whatever. Like anything touch based definitely wouldn't work. Let's see. If they are the jester, they get mirror prank. Decker creates an illusionary double that lasts until hit.
Okay. Cool. I'm assuming the double's got the same AC as it,
I would also say that
but just like one hit point.
I would also say that for the prank, I would even add personally, if Decker is within 15 feet or 10 feet, however you want, of his image, all attacks have like disadvantage or something.
Oh,
Essentially,
okay.
you don't know which one you're hitting, so it's
Yeah.
even harder because he's like, who is it? Who is it? Is it me? Is it that one? Because they're like talking in sync or like just
Yeah.
delay. I could just see that because he's not just mirroring his image, I could see that as like he should also have a benefit if he's too close to him.
Okay. No, I'm down for that.
Considering letting him do spell casting with his mirror image self, but I don't think that was too fair. Yeah. But I wouldn't mind if they're close enough that he gets more AC.
I mean, we're not saying that his illusory duplicate can do anything. Like it feels like it's very akin to the trickster cleric's illusory duplicate. Like it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's
but
just to be another target that they don't know
yes.
what it is.
Now the question is how, because for the cleric, it's very obvious that one's a duplicate and one's not. One's just in shades of gray and the other's full color reality.
Right.
So in this one, like how
I would say it's an identical. I would say that for all
Yes.
like I would even just say that as long as the duplicate's on the battlefield, you have to roll to see which one you hit. Like you could say I'm shooting that one on the battlefield, but then you have to roll to see if you actually hit Decker or his image.
I would
Because
say
you wouldn't know. Like your character wouldn't know which one to aim at. So you choose like I'm gonna go to the one to my left. But when you roll to hit, when you hit him, then you have to roll percentiles to see do you hit the duplicate or him? Like, did you choose correctly?
Yes, but like, would you say, because it doesn't say he can teleport between them. So once you figure out which one it is, say if I hit the right one first, do I have to roll that every single time?
Well,
now I know
until it's hit.
Right. So what I'm saying is, okay, I create my duplicate. This is me. This is the duplicate. I guess, and I hit the right one. I hit the real guy, so the duplicate didn't die.
Right.
I don't have to keep guessing. I know that this is the right guy, unless
I would say that there's a practical purpose to say that you have to roll each time, as if like kind of like how the Echo Knight works. You can kind of be in either spot at once.
So then he would be able to teleport between them. That he'd be able to switch spots with them.
I don't see why. I can understand.
Like, I wouldn't mind having that ability.
I think it works. I think it's fine doing that personally.
I do too. I don't mind that, having that ability at all. But if they
yeah. So every swing would be a percentile to see if you hit the mirror image or Decker. So yeah, that kind of works out. So I don't mind. They're basically, in two different spots, or even just just saying that he occupies both spaces technically, and he's kind of like always in between, like he's phasing in between both spots.
But the first time you hit the duplicate, the duplicate's gone. Yeah,
right. But if you hit him, you just happen to hit him when he's in that spot, but now he's back. So I think there could be some justification for both sides.
Okay.
But because he would only have this one thing, I wouldn't mind making it a little bit more powerful.
Sure.
Because it's the only legendary action he has.
Yes, at a time.
Let's see. So and then the Jester's aura is reality distorts in a 50-foot radius, disadvantage on insight versus illusion.
Oh.
So that's even better. That's even better because you don't know which one's which. There you go. Okay, I like that.
I'm curious if his custom spells are also illusion spells.
Ooh, yeah.
Because that would be very beneficial.
They should be. At least for that particular card. If you pull the rogue, you get trick step. Decker teleports 30 feet, then makes a free reality swipe attack.
Okay. Your melee attack. Nice.
Yep. And your aura gains sneak attack 46 and advantage on dex saves.
Okay.
So you can do a sneak attack and advantage on dexterity.
So wild. You can just do sneak attack. Hey, I'm a freaking rogue now.
I mean, that's the card is the rogue.
Yeah.
So, that totally makes sense that
freaking
you would
fair.
align in that class. Okay. I'm feeling this. The Don John lockdown. Decker forces one target to make a dex save or be restrained. DC 18.
Okay.
And the aura anti-teleportation field within 30 feet.
Okay. So does that mean no one can teleport within 30 feet of him?
I think it's in and out. That one kind of feels like in and out. You can't teleport away or into a 30-foot radius.
Oh,
I would block it all. I would just kind of say
Okay.
kind of like just a force field that you can't do with action.
Got you.
Let's see. Fate rewrites is for the fates. Decker changes any D20 roll they can see once per day.
So this is a legendary action they can only use once a day.
Which totally makes sense because if this why wouldn't you just be like, nope, it's a one. Nope.
Yeah.
Every attack roll, one.
So when it say it changes, does that mean they get to just decide what it is?
As far as I read it.
So I mean, I can make it a 1 or I can make it a 20? That's wild.
I mean, if you're that kind of personality, I'd always make them miss by 1.
That's fair.
Just be like, what'd you need to hit me? A 14, you rolled a 13.
Okay, when it comes to something like this, say because you and I have seen in a lot of our homebrews and a lot of just standard stuff that it says when you fail a save or if you miss an attack, you can do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right? If Decker changes a roll so that you miss or whatever the case may be, would you say that allows it to trigger one of those abilities?
Ironically, I just went over a short that I had posted not too long ago. Well, a couple months now at this point. We had the same conversation about another homebrew spell.
Okay.
And it was ironically also about legendary actions.
Okay.
Because the argument was a legendary reaction changes the outcome after a die. So the whole point was someone had an ability that says, if you fail a die roll, you get to do X, Y, Z. But then they were saying, hey, can I trigger that if the boss triggers a legendary action to force me to fail. And my argument was no, because the ability you want says when you fail a roll, but you didn't fail the roll, you succeeded the roll.
Then the roll was changed.
Your ability cannot trigger because your ability needs to trigger when you failed it. When you succeeded, your ability to trigger that ability was done, right? Your offer to trigger it was done.
Sure.
But then the BBEG comes in and says you actually failed that roll. They didn't change your roll. They just said you failed instead, right? Because the legendary action was not, they didn't change the die roll.
Right.
They changed the success of the
They changed
roll.
the outcome.
But to me, that doesn't mean that the other ability now triggers. Because the original trigger was that you failed the roll, but you didn't fail the roll. Your roll was turned into a, so that's, and maybe I even said this, I'm being pedantic about that. But
no, I will say that makes a lot of sense on that front, because it feels very Magic the Gathering, like where is it on the stack, like who did what first type deal. But
coming down with what you were saying, when it says Decker changes any D20, I look at that as you change the number, like you change the roll itself. So there could be an argument both ways. If he changes the number and doesn't just automatically say you fail, that's different, right?
Sure.
Because changing it after the fact doesn't change what you did. It's kind of like running a marathon. If you run a marathon and beat their world record, but then they change the rules after the fact, it doesn't negate the fact that you had run that time.
Right.
You don't just suddenly, time didn't change and you suddenly didn't run it in that time frame. They changed the rules after the fact, but that doesn't negate what you did. That's how I always read these. But when this is saying they changed your number, that's like you running a marathon in record time and someone goes in and changes the time of your actual
so it looks like
score.
You didn't run it in that time.
And then you can say, well, I thought I ran it faster, but how do you prove it, right? So that's the logic here. So the fact that he's changing the die roll, I would say if he changes it to a failed number, you can then trigger that you rolled a failed number because the die is being changed, not the outcome. If that, and maybe that's too pedantic, but it matters when we're talking about, is it what you roll? Because like when you
so then I have another question. I have another question for you. On that same, under that same logic, if this person wanted to change that roll, a trigger that would say something to the effect of, if you fail the roll by 5 or more, this thing happens. It would make sense to me that using this ability would not trigger that 5 or more thing, because the initial fail, it's just like you were talking about, that initial fail wasn't bad. It's just they came by after the fact and changed it. So like, I didn't fail it by 5 or more, so the 5 or more part doesn't happen to me.
But I could also argue the other way, because changing the number, it's up to the DM to say, hey, I'm going to change it to a 1. And you're like, oh, really? That's more than 5 or more. I'm going to do XYZ instead. Right?
Right.
So, because it's just like, even though you can change your modded number, you don't get a crit success because you modded it, right?
Sure.
A nat 20 is different than a modded 20.
Yes.
And that's where maybe my pedanticism comes in. My pedanticness is when I'm talking about the difference when it says I changed the outcome, but that didn't change the die roll I made. And some things are very specific to the die you rolled, and some things are very specific to the outcome.
Yeah.
You know, whether you hit them or not doesn't, you know, if it says on a hit, it doesn't matter how you hit them. You just have to be able to do damage.
Right.
Right. And we've even talked about that. On a hit, even if they're resistant or immune, you still hit them.
Very much so. Very much so.
And maybe that's it, right? The pedanticness of on hit versus on damage. Those are two different scenarios. And maybe that's where I feel like that's my argument for what was rolled versus what's the outcome.
Okay.
Because if you can say I can hit you but not do damage, but the on hit effect still works, then I should say the on roll effect only works on the roll. But you can't say it affects the outcome when it specifically wants the roll itself. Like again, the roll succeeded, but I said no. That's like a counter spell, right? It's more like counter spell than it is an undo.
Okay. Interesting.
That's probably more of a side tangent than we needed, but
no, I get it.
All right, so the fates, their aura. The first failed save each round can be re-rolled by an ally within 30 feet.
Oh, first failed save by an ally within 30 feet can be re-rolled.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
It was just the way it worked. It was like, if I fail a save, one of my allies can re-roll it for me. Like, that's kind of what I heard. I was like,
that would actually be dope.
what is happening? Okay, legit.
All right, moving on to the next one, we have Flame Burst from the Flame. Decker unleashes 6d10 fire damage in a 30-foot line. Dex save DC 18 for half. The aura is a 10-foot fire aura, 3d6 fire per round to enemies. I would specify at the start or at the end, which one you intend.
Oh, like if they start their turn in it?
Well, because it says 1d10 fire aura, 3d6 fire per round to enemies. I would specify is it at the start or end, or is it the top or the end at the bottom of their turn? When they start their turn within 10 feet or end their turn within 10 feet.
Okay.
Because that matters. Or is it only on your turn, right? Like, well, it says per round. So I'm assuming that means
it's going to be once per round. I do think it's important to identify
start
whether
or end.
It would make sense that it's either when the enemy starts their turn within your aura, or it's at the start of your turn. Like, those two would make the most sense to me.
Right.
But anything else would.
But it does say round, so I'm assuming that means just every person, right? Or no, that would be a turn.
Rounds just means like the full initiative order. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like once per, like, if
each enemy can be damaged.
If for whatever reason somebody gives you an extra turn somehow in the thing round, you're not going to get hit again.
So yeah, I would say just identify 3d6 fire per round to enemies at the start of their turn or at the end of their turn.
Sure.
when they're within 10 feet. And that just fixed it, right? Just bam. And here's another fun topic. We talked about balancing things in different ways. We always talk about people want to take away to balance instead of add detriments.
Sure.
I've never heard of someone splitting the difference. Like, we have 3d6, but why can't it be 2d6, one at the start of your turn, the top of your round, and then one at the bottom? So if you start your turn within 10 feet of me, you take 1d6. Then if you end your turn, you'll take another d6. So it's the whole time you're near me. Like, it represents more of the longevity of you staying in the fire instead of just touching it. Because if you start your turn and then leave, yeah, you touch the fire. But if you end your turn here, you're just still burning the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
So that means that it took all of everybody's ability to go, and then you could leave and not get hurt again. That doesn't make much sense. But you stayed in the fire. You should be constantly being burned. So that could be an alternative for people out there, is why not split the difference and say you take damage both at the start and end of your turn if you're in this aura. But you don't do 5d10, you do like 2 and 2.
Sure.
I think that makes a whole lot more sense to represent being in a area of effect than it does just once.
I would agree. I would say that specifically in 5th edition, it gives you the opportunity to play with like leaving and coming back in the aura, right? Because if it's at the start and the end, if I take 1d6 when I start, leave and then, well, see, you still theoretically like end your turn in there. Yeah, I get.
But yeah, I just.
But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because if I start my turn next to someone who's on fire, I should get a little bit scorched, and I either recoil from that and leave the area, or I stand my ground. But if I'm choosing to stand my ground, after 6 seconds, I should have gotten scorched again, and then I have to wait for my turn again, which basically means a whole 6 seconds I'm standing in fire, but I'm not getting burned that whole time.
It's I do think that the 3d6 is representative of you getting burned that whole time. It just only comes into effect at that one point. And I think the reason for that is so that the ability feels like it's meteor, because if I'm only ever able to legitimately do 1d6 at a time, then they do 1d6 and then they leave the aura, right? They come back in, they take 1d6 and then they leave the aura.
Yeah.
So you can just keep coming in and out and in and out and in and out and only take 1d6 versus.
But every time you leave, you're going to take an attack of opportunity too.
It depends on if you need to get in melee range. Theoretically, if you have somebody who's got 10-foot reach and you don't, then they can get in and out without having to worry about too much stuff. It really depends. But I would agree. Definitely.
I think my thing is just, it's like, it is weird that you can go the whole turn, have your entire turn, and then walk away, but somehow you didn't get burned because you didn't end. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's why I'm never.
That's why I think it makes more sense at the start instead of at the end,
because it represents that you were standing there. The whole time.
Were in there. Yeah. Yes.
So I would say I would prefer the start of the turn. I think that's always my preference for an AOE thing like this.
Sure.
The end kind of makes more sense with that when it's like an internal thing. Like a constitution check kind of thing.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
It's almost like every action you take is leading up to you having to
Do
stay
this
on your
thing.
feet or make your check,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whereas because usually those ones, if it's at the end of your turn, usually those ones you can save out or you can do an action to stop. So it's kind of one of those things
Yeah.
where it should give you the opportunity to fix the situation. So maybe that should be the unwritten rule. We can even put this like in the PBH or the ADMG as like an unwritten rule that we think should happen is if
Except
the
we'll be
effect
writing it down.
Huh?
I said, except we'll be writing it down.
So what if it's you split when like you make an unwritten rule, right? Where if it can be saved out or save ends or an action can be taken to save the effect, it should the damage should be taken end of your turn. Meaning that if you can save out or if you can fix it and you choose not to or are unable to,
Right.
that leads up to you making the check. However, if it's something that would otherwise be instantaneous, it should always be at the start of your turn. Because it's not something that you would have otherwise been able to alter yourself. Like otherwise you would not have been able to get away from it. So that could just be a very easy rule for people to follow of when should I make it start and the end. And it should all depend on whether or not they have a chance to say that or to stop.
Got it.
And then that way there's never a confusion and it makes the most realistic sense. Hey, maybe that will be a short later.
I like that. I like that.
All right, moving on from flames, we are going to look at the knight. Intercede. Decker redirects an attack targeting an ally within 10 feet. That's interesting. So I'm assuming it says redirects an attack that is targeting an ally within 10 feet of them. It sounds more like you could redirect it a target to an ally.
Oh.
As in, don't hit me, hit my buddy. But what I'm thinking is if you have an ally within 10 feet of you that's about to be hit, you can say, no, hit that person instead.
Yes. Yes. Now, the question is, what is the range of the person instead I can say it can hit?
Probably 10 feet. But it would have to be yeah. That's a
Because
little,
it's like,
that's a little bit of
okay,
a weird one.
say you're in melee with me, and say you're in melee with one of my allies that's within 10 feet of me.
Oh, and it
you
goes
go-
for magic too and ranged weapons.
Yeah. So
So it's anything.
So that's the thing. So is it the range of the attack that's the limit of who I can redirect it to, or is it the range, or is there like just some range within myself? Like, do I have to see the person? Do I have to?
Yeah, we need more understanding of exactly how this works. I don't mind the redirecting of attack, but yeah, it needs a little bit more.
I would say like it has to be within 5 feet of the person, or within like 30 feet or something like that of me, right? So within 5 feet of the original target.
Okay, so for instance, if you have like a spell sniper at 120 feet and they target an ally that's within 10 feet of you, you can redirect the attack back at the caster. That's what they mean.
So
if any ally that is within 10 feet of you gets attacked, you could just say no, send the attack back. That's how I don't think it's a redirect. It sounds like it's more of just recent, like reflection. Yeah. So that's how I read it now is any ally that's within 10 feet of you, if they are attacked, yes, that's the card says yes. So if they're within 10 feet of you, any attack that happens to them, you can just say go back to caster.
So does that include melee attacks?
Yeah, melee, range.
So if
and
I
magic.
hit you with my sword, all of a sudden I'm hitting myself.
Correct. If you're within 10 feet of Decker.
Okay.
And-
Is this
That's the knight when he's in the knight version, and that's his legendary action.
because I try to like visualize all of these things and like how they would actually go about. Like, is the knight actually like sticking his blade and like redirecting?
That's what I think of. It's
or is
blade,
he-
shield. It's however you want to visualize it, but I think he's there to just basically like deflect it, and it gets pushed right back in your face.
Interesting.
And that could be like a shield bump. Maybe he just like shield bumps you. It doesn't necessarily have to be
Sure.
your blade doesn't hit you necessarily have to hurt you. It's just the amount of damage was
Right.
affected. But I do like that though. That's kind of a cool ability for a knight. Because usually
I
you
agree.
get what, like Sentinel or
Sentinel's very cool.
Shield. So
there's been a couple that allow you to like give disadvantage on attacks or like just cancel out crits and stuff like that. But the reflection of the attack I think is kind of cool.
Same thing goes if someone does earthquake on your ally. Pretty much Decker would slam their shield into the ground, and then it would go back to the caster. So that's cool. So it's like a just like a insta redirect back to the person. That's cool. It also makes me think. I don't know why I'm so full. Maybe just because it's been a while since we've done something creative.
True.
But I'm getting full of ideas now. This makes me think that what we're missing, not necessarily in D&D, but what I don't see a lot outside of video games that I think this would be awesome at, especially if you're a barbarian. Why isn't there a feat or a subclass based around the aggro ability? So this is like redirecting, right? You're saying basically, I don't want my allies to get hit, send it back to the attacker. What if you had an ability or a feat or were a subclass where you could say, if my allies within 10 feet of me and they get attacked, I aggro the attacker and they have to attack me instead?
There are the closest thing that I am aware of that we have to that right now is there's actually a barbarian subclass, like it's like ancestral something, but it's when you attack somebody, that person that you just hit with an attack has disadvantage to attack anybody other than you.
There are some.
That's the closest that I've seen to what you're talking about.
I think it would just be so cool if someone gets attacked and you just like say something and just piss them off enough to they're like, nope, I gotta attack you now. And then you can just eat the damage, right? Especially if you're a barbarian and or just imagine if you knew that you were resistant or immune to a certain type of damage and you could just be like, no, right? And you just sit there and just eat it for the whole party. That would be kind of one of the situations to use it in.
Yeah.
But there is no, you're right. That might be the closest thing we have to aggro is because there's nothing that forces.
That's the closest mechanic, truly, that I can think of right now.
That's just a barbarian with a few levels of bard. Yeah. That's not far off from the truth. Okay. And then the knight's aura, allies within 15 feet gain temporary HP equal to Decker's charisma modifier each round. I'm assuming that doesn't stack, so it replaces.
If it's temporary HP, you can never have two instances of temporary HP at a time.
Yeah.
So it's either the highest amount or the most recent amount.
Interesting. Okay. We have the skull card. Has Grave Pulse. All enemies within 15 feet of Decker take 4d8 necrotic damage. Also summon 1d4 shadows as the legendary action.
Wild.
I would honestly say, personally for me, I would say all enemies within 15 feet take 4d8 necrotic damage. Either for every enemy hit up to 4, or for every so much damage dealt this way up to 4, you can summon skeletons. So I activate the card, and if I hit 3 enemies, I get 3 skeletons. Yeah. Or if I do 10 damage, I get 2 skeletons.
Sure.
Something like that. That's how I think I would do it instead of just I do damage and summon. I kind of like the idea of them being equated.
I like the number of enemies that you hit being responsible for it. Although I will say this feels more like an aura.
Oh, yeah. Let's look at the actual aura for the skull. Creatures who begin their turn within 10 feet must succeed wisdom save or be frightened for 1 turn.
So go back up to the legendary action. Like, I'm trying to think about like what this would look like if you activated it.
It's just a pulse. It's like an AoE effect. You activate it at the end of someone else's turn. So if like, someone's going to attack you, whatever, at the end of their turn, you just go, fine, everybody near me, take damage, and I'm going to summon some skellies around me. Basically, I think if you're getting overrun, it's kind of like...
Not that it's necessarily too powerful in and of itself, but it feels way more powerful than any of the other abilities. Especially because you're bringing stuff onto the battlefield. It does less damage than the fire burst one, but there is no save for it. You just take the damage.
Right.
There's no save for half damage or anything like that. You just take the damage and skellies come, or not skellies, shadows.
Here's another one that I wouldn't mind to kind of fix what you're talking about, or an alternative to what I think you're talking about. What if when you activate Grave Pulse, it is a 15-foot AoE. Any enemy within 15 feet, Grave Pulse, Decker releases a 15-foot necrotic pulse. I'm struggling how to put this, but essentially, just when you activate it, any enemy within that zone now has a skeleton on them. and you can give them basically all haste. Like you raise the skeletons, they all can immediately attack, and then they now go on your turn. So instead of it being a automatic damage, it's everyone gets raised, but then they get basically a free attack round.
Sure.
So then that's it. So then it's just, instead of a guaranteed necrotic damage, you get these minions, but they all get a free swing.
I like that. I don't know right now. My
shadows are only supposed to be on the battlefield for D4 round, for 1d4 rounds.
Okay.
That's
I was
way
about to say I would feel so much better if these shadows only stayed like till the end of your next turn or something like that. But 1d4 rounds is okay too.
Yeah.
I'm
okay with that. I'm okay with 1d4 rounds. I don't know about the damage,
only
but
a half CR. They're not
but 46 isn't too crazy for damage. It's just, I like the idea of, instead of rolling for it, just however many people you hit.
Sure.
And honestly, I wouldn't even put a limit on that. I mean, how many people you're going to face at the most anyway? 6?
I mean, within 10 feet of you, yeah, it's not gonna be that or 15 feet.
Yeah, I'm totally okay just saying you summon a number of shadows equal to the number of people that you hit.
Especially if there's a time cap on it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Oh man. And then if they're so imagine it's a friendly, right? Decker's friendly. You're like, hey,
sometimes.
But if he is a friendly, imagine being able to pull that off, being surrounded by minions.
Oh,
how many minions could you get within 15 feet of you? So that's what, 3.
You get quite a bit.
Yeah,
you can get quite a bit.
That's a fuck ton of minions that you could just like burst and then just have a bunch of shades next to you. Okay. The key, steal magic. Decker dispels a single active magical effect. DC 18 charisma save to resist. A single magical effect. Does this include magical items? Like, does this dispel magic? Or is it like a spell that's ongoing?
I would say a magical item is not a magical effect. It is
it's like a spell effect.
Yeah, it would be like the effect of something that's out there. Like if somebody like casts something on you, even if it's theoretically permanent, like say if they, what was it? Like, can't they like change your shape permanently or something like that?
Oh, it's also meant to negate potion effects as well.
Potion effects. Okay. Yeah. No, I believe that too.
If desired for the DM. So basically it's like a effect neutralizer. I don't mind that.
I don't mind that at all.
A single magical effect. Honestly, I would even just say, it's a little bit weird for being the key because he likes to steal stuff. So I wouldn't even mind it being like, he can steal a magical item or, steal an item off of players. But because, the whole point was like he wants to just unlock stuff.
Sure.
So being able to take away a magical effect is a little bit weird. Knock wouldn't really be that grateful in battle. Like, I know most of these are meant to be battle worthy. So that kind of concept is, I mean, being the keymaster, a dimension door would be interesting, but we already have a teleporting one.
Sure.
I feel like this one, honestly, because we already have the rogue, so it's not really a thief. It's just the fact that it was always about like unlocking stuff. I just feel like the concept of dispelling a magical effect really isn't there for me.
Yeah, I'm curious what their aura is.
Let's look at that. The key's aura, non-magical locks within 60 feet unlock automatically.
Well, that definitely fits with the key.
Is that that? And the secondary thought of mine was to release a caged Hell Baron that would be placed on the battlefield. What? Wait, hold on. I missed some things. Wait. So, he's just drinking some red Kool-Aid with no healing effects.
Accurate.
Okay, so yeah. So with the key, I don't know. I don't mind a spell effect. It's fine. It's just doesn't seem to fit that particular one. Now it is hard to do like a key thing in battle.
Yeah,
like it's really difficult to do that without it being like a doorway, like basically another version of teleporting.
You know what I think would be cool, especially because it's called steal magic, and the purpose of unlocking things is to get something out of it, and you could theoretically say your magic is locked or whatever. Like imagine if like say your opponent had a +1 sword, like a Vorpal sword or something like that, something that like did something specific. imagine if you could temporarily, kind of like in Magic the Gathering, where you can make somebody else's creature yours for a certain period of time.
Okay.
You could steal what their ability did for a certain period of time.
Like a
You
rogue's
know,
ability, just kind of like temporarily be able to do what they can.
kind of.
Hmm.
You know, and maybe it's not like a class ability, maybe it's an item, maybe it's a something else.
So it doesn't go with the name Steal Magic, but again, the idea that it just wants to unlock things, right? Like that's its whole purpose, is to unlock things.
Sure.
So what if we made its ability kind of turn that one on its head? And what if, as the legendary action, it could lock anything?
Oh, okay.
And that means for for like a certain amount of turns, right? So like let's say for like 1 minute or for a max amount of turns or whatever, there's a time frame it can lock anything with its legendary. And that means not just doors, treasure chests. It can lock the mage's spell book closed. If you haven't taken your sword out of your sheath, it can lock your sword into your sheath. It can lock a spell in the folded. So if you pull out a spell scroll,
Mhm.
you can't open it. You can't open your bag to take out your potion. You can't uncork your potion. So imagine you're like, I'm about to, pop a potion. Well, I guess it's at the end of someone else's turn. No, it's all in someone else's turn, right? Not,
It is at the end of somebody's turn.
But
But
just-
like it could be their turn coming up next, and they need to.
And you're just like, hey, by the way, that bottle you want to drink, it's locked.
it's not gonna open.
That would be way more interesting for the DM to control, because at that point it's kind of a counter spell, but for anything,
That's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. I'm kind of not mad at that.
unlocking memories, that would have
The
been
traumatic
interesting.
memories.
Or maybe digs into your memory and someone from your past that's like, yeah, unlocking memories, that would hurt. That's cool. Unlocking memories is pretty cool. That's not a bad idea, Carb, but I kind of like the idea of the key, because his whole deal is unlocking everything. Why isn't the one thing he does when he's just pissed? Like, the whole thing is he's not a fighter, right? So when you
Sure.
put him in the middle of something, what's he gonna do? He's gonna lock it. He's like, I am the king of locks, bitch. You don't get that.
You can't do that shit.
Oh, dude, imagine how cool this would be, because it wouldn't last very long, right?
I would think so.
So imagine this is how the BBEG battle starts, and the BBEG walks out. You make this big old grand entrance. He's in this like, this great like cloak. You know how like the king's cloak that's like just all draped and closed and everything. It's a giant clasp and
Mhm.
everything. He walks out, gives his big monologue, and just before the battle starts, he's gonna throw his robe open to reveal his weapon. He's like, "We shall begin." And Decker's just sitting there like, "Your robe's locked." I
Wild.
just sit there smiling at him like, "Can you get out of your robe?"
Wild.
Because if it's closed, like imagine that anything that touches could be considered locked. So imagine just locking someone in a cloak where they can't open up the cloak, so they're basically in a locked bag.
You watch those animes or those shows where the people like to wear their jackets, but they don't actually put their arms through the sleeve.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It's just like
you're gonna like pop it up off your no, you're not. I can't.
Oh,
That's
just
fucking
the
wild.
dumb things you can do. Just lock someone's shoelaces, like their shoe. So it's like they're trying to get, they're just that one shoe they can't take off. Just
So ridiculous.
oh, okay. That would be,
And you could theoretically do that 3 times every turn.
I think that would be funny. I think that would be ridiculous and unnecessary, but I think it would be funny.
Wild. So wild.
All right, and then we get the non-magical locks within 60 feet unlock automatically. So basically, he has an aura of knock.
Yes.
Basically, theoretically, the key could lock anything within an existence. So locking a player's chest plate, just making them immovable for the round. Don't want him in any so essentially you could make his lock kind of like, what's that other one, the immovable object where you just touch an object and it can't move. So you could make it something similar to that.
That could be kind of cool.
But again, you could be a creative DM and just be like, I lock that joint, like the joint right here that lets you, in your armor, your plate armor, I lock that particular joint. You just can't raise your arm now. You can do all you want like this with your with your elbow, but your shoulder is just fucked, and you're just like, nope.
That's funny.
that knee joint, lock that. You
Yeah,
can't, you just can't walk
straight
now.
legged and everything. That's crazy.
Oh wow, you don't want him in a prison. That would be just hilarious. Just walking out.
Bye.
Okay, I'm having too much fun with that one. This is why I like this though. Sometimes it's I like giving advice and offers of my insights to people, but sometimes it's also just fun to get
Just run
ideas
with
from
it.
people and then come up with my own ideas with it. So it's kind of a two-way street, you know? Everyone gives me ideas, I give my ideas.
You know, that's
All
what
right.
we're here for.
Moving to the star, we have Blessings of the Star. Decker grants an ally within 60 feet inspiration, 1d10.
Need 10 inspiration. Okay.
Okay.
Decent.
But the aura, allies within 30 feet gain +1 to attack and saving throws.
Okay. Cool.
Alright, so kind of like inspiration, just half-assed, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, attack and saving throws are great in combat. And then finally, we have the balance, moral inversion. One creature must succeed a DC 17 charisma save or have their alignment flipped for an hour.
So it says flipped. So that would mean a chaotic neutral would become a lawful neutral. That's how I would do flips.
See, neutral's always difficult, but yeah, neutral probably stays neutral. But yeah, like lawful evil would become like probably chaotic. You could even say lawful evil becomes chaotic good.
Yeah.
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 So it would be if one is like good goes to evil, lawful goes to chaotic, neutral goes to neutral.
Yes.
So true neutral is the only one that can't get affected by it.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh no. And then how you play that is you do flip the true neutral. You flip their entire way of thinking. It just comes out the same. So the first one's like, look, man, it isn't my problem. I don't care about anything. And then this happens to him and you're like, bro, the world is so fucked. There's not enough I can do. I'm too overwhelmed. I feel
I can't do anything.
It's like, so at first it's apathy, right? It's first is I feel nothing. Then it's overloaded feeling of empathy where it's just like, I have too much anxiety. I can't participate in this.
That's funny.
So you get the same outcome, but you have to flip you truly still have to fuck with their head. That's what I like doing with NPCs, right? I really like taking that instead of just giving you what I think needs to happen or what you want. It's honestly, it's like a true neutral wouldn't change their alignment, but you still change them.
Yeah.
So they don't act the same, but they still end up like with that.
Yeah.
I dig that. I dig that.
That's kind of clean. This
ability is great. Is great for going against your party who have super lawful good being. Yeah. It's also really fucked because this could. Oh my gosh. No, this is actually way worse.
For how long?
1
For an hour. Okay.
Oh no. This is so much worse. This isn't just funny. This isn't just role play. Imagine you're halfway through battle and you lose your attunement because your alignment just changed. Your helmet just falls off.
That's true.
Or whatever you're attuned to, you lose it. I mean, paladins and clerics could lose their powers if you role play out the alignment needs. You could have that one player like think about the entire time you've had a player who is related to the BBEG, and the whole time they've been like, no, I will never, my heart's too pure. And then they go evil. And all of a sudden it's like, nephew, you do see my side now, don't you? And they're just like, team, he does have a point. Like, do we like, have we actually heard him out? Like, you could flip the entire narrative of the entire campaign if that targeted the right NPC or player at the right moment.
That could be fairly scary.
Yeah. What are you freaking out about, Pokeniner? Are you losing attunement or just completely losing like the mindset of your player?
No.
Just suddenly deciding that they want to be with the BBEG. Imagine that you have a side quest amulet that sort of leans towards more evil side of things, but you've been doing good. You can resist it, but as soon as you get the alignment flips, yeah, and then all of a sudden it starts like you've been holding. I mean, imagine the player who is the Frodo of the team, who's the only one who's good enough to like carry that cursed item because they're the only one who won't wear it.
Right.
They get flipped and they're like, "Hey guys, I know the solution. I put the ring on."
Wild. So wild.
Who said we're playing it? We're not taking away their agency. A mental shift is not taking away their agency. There is no such thing as taking away their agency unless you forbid them to do something. But changing their alignment only shifts the way that they look at the world, doesn't change their actions or the way that they go about doing things. It just changes their mood. But we've talked about this. Good people can steal for the right reason, and bad people can steal for the wrong reason, and vice versa. Anything can be flipped. So you can get the same outcome just with a different ideology and a different mindset.
So it brings up an interesting point because, okay, if you were, from what you know of me, Kage, what alignment would you give me?
Overall, I would say you're probably neutral good.
Neutral good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you swing either way to, you don't care, you don't have you have never shown a strong enough affinity one way or the other for overt organization, as in the concept of a hierarchy isn't your top priority. You see the benefits and you see where it benefits people, but when it comes down to it, getting the job done is more important than who's telling you what to do.
Sure.
So you don't care about chaos. You don't want everything to be upheavaled and everyone to live on their own, but you respect those that do. You don't want there to be a king or a government or anything that's authoritarian, but you also see how the world operates and does just fine with that.
Sure.
So you neither want nor don't want either. You see the benefits, and that's not your swing. But when push comes to shove, you will do a good deed when you're offered to do so. When given the opportunity, you would rather, because it makes you feel good, but you would rather do something for someone else than yourself when it was truly push comes to shove.
So if my alignment right now were to get flipped, now it's less dramatic, obviously, because there's a neutral in there,
Sure.
and there's that for the most part is gonna stay the same. But if my alignment right now were to get flipped, like what would there be things that like I would do that like my original self would potentially air quotes regret?
So here's where I think this conversation gets super juicy, because I think this is where the conversation of alignment everyone gets wrong, right?
Okay.
And this is where I think Pokénighter comes from, the mindset of this would change player agency, and it doesn't. So let's look at Kage. Let's just take Kage at a random time. One point, Kage wanted to open up their own dojo, wanted to help kids, and you wanted to teach martial arts, right?
Sure.
That was just a thing neutral good Kage wanted to do. It was a non-authoritarian, non-chaotic way of life that you thought was beneficial to people, and it was a way that you could survive, right? Worked for everyone.
Sure.
Change that to evil. Your life doesn't look any different. You just want money now. You want to create your own martial art to be known throughout the world as the best martial artist. You want to now have your kids go compete and be the best in the world so they know that Kage is the best dojo master of all. You don't have to suddenly becoming evil neutral or becoming evil, like you were neutral good, now you're neutral evil, doesn't suddenly make you a bad person. It's just your motives. You could still have the 100% same exact life. It's the reasons and the mindsets that you have. You still don't think that society needs to be governed by authority. You still don't think that the society needs to be chaotic. But your motivation to do good things, you're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart. And you're not doing it because you like kids. You do it. You know why you do it for kids? You know why you do kids and not adults? Because kids are suckers. They don't have to be good at the sport for their parents to pay. If you pay an adult for a black belt, if they pay you for a black belt, they expect to know how to fight. If you teach an 8-year-old how to fight, do you think anyone cares if they actually can throw a kick? No, but you're still going to collect that $300 a month from them. That's an evil dojo master. A good one goes, hey, look, I know you can't pay today's class. Don't worry. He still needs to be able to learn that it's okay in life to struggle, right? You want to teach them the benefits of martial arts to make them better people in the world. That's good Kage. Evil Kage is going to make sure they pay up. Evil Kage is going to make sure that you have the kid that can't participate in class, but you're still going to charge him anyway for sitting on the bench because he was in class. You're still going to charge him for the babysitting. That's the only difference. Everyone thinks that you're going to suddenly become this, I'm going to hurt people. No, it's just motivation in the way that you approach things.
How would you, that's a good articulation for the good versus evil. What about lawful versus chaotic? I do feel like that might be a little bit more.
Same thing. So perfect. A lawful person would do what you did. Go to a dojo, work your way up, become an assistant, open up your own when you were told you have rightfully earned that. Or you do the chaotic version. You be Bruce Lee and say, You are too old and steeped in tradition. It's time to show these people that martial arts is something different. And that's what Bruce Lee did. Bruce Lee was absolutely chaotic in the sense of how he looked at martial arts. He didn't want the tradition. He didn't want everybody to learn the same thing that's been learned for thousands of years. He said there's a better way to do it. Everyone told him no, and he said, I will prove you wrong, and he did. Right? So there's your difference. I do not believe that alignment shifts fundamentally change anything about the way that you work with your character. It's just a mindset. Lawful and evil is just a selfish, selfless scale. Good and evil is a selfless, selfish scale. And lawful and chaotic are simply about your ideologies of how society and how people need to treat each other. Right? That it's just a scale. Everyone thinks there are these hard, fast rules. It's not. A good person can both steal and tattletale on someone who steals and look the other way when someone steals. A good person can do all three of those. It depends on what's going on in their head. A good person will tattle when someone's breaking into a bank. A good person will steal, like Robin Hood. Would you say Robin Hood's good? That's a good person. He stole from the worst of the worst who were forcefully taking money and giving it back to the people who needed it. That could be a good act. Or you could steal for yourself, or you could look the other way when you see someone like Robin Hood go, you know what, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. I'm just going to look the other way. Those are severities of good, right? You are not tied just because you're good to do the right thing. It's in your head. It's the ideology of what's the right thing, right? Lawful good just means that you believe in a lawful structure, you believe in rules and order, and you want to do the right thing. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the ultimate God-fearing, perfect Puritan paladin, right? That's just the exaggerated version of that. Just like lawful evil is usually characterized as the BBEG. But that's not the case, right? Sometimes it's just more about how you look at the world and how you process that information. But the outcome I don't necessarily think has to be any different, right? You would always have been a martial arts instructor. You would have always chosen kids. It's just why. You chose kids because you see a future with future society. You see a future potential in them, right? The evil version of you would have just done it because kids have parents with money, and parents will pay anything to put their kids in a daycare. And no one's going to think twice when a kid who has a black belt and is 9 years old, how many people are going to think twice when that kid can't really fight for himself? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you would care too much about your value. You care more about the money or about the prestige or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you're not still providing the same service. So that's my hot take. That's my hot take on why I think people get alignment wrong, is because you can give me any alignment and there's no way that you can't. It's all about the mindset. It's why you can say the BBEG, this is why it's the same concept of when people say the best BBEG is the hero of their own story.
I mean, I will say this. And I've, for the most part, believe this. Everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. Like, I don't care how much you understand that I'm breaking the law. Like, you believe that what you are doing, whether it's breaking the law or not, whether it's stealing from somebody or not, whether it's killing somebody or not, you think that whatever you're doing is justified.
Yeah, it may not necessarily right, but you justify what you're
right. But like, to you, that means like it's okay for me to do it. Like, I swear I told you this a long time ago. I had a roommate who really didn't like me, and at the end of the day, one day when he stopped paying me for the electric bill, he took my furniture, chopped it up with an axe, and burned it in the fireplace. And then when I confronted him about it, he was like, yeah, I did it. What about it? In his mind, I genuinely believe he thought he was justified. He was reasonable. Like he was the right thing. But you know, so I get that mindset when it comes to everybody thinks like they are the hero of their own story. They think that if I go tell my friends what I just did, they're gonna be like, wow, that other person's whack, that other person's crazy type deal. So interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. That's what I say. I've never experienced, outside of people who get alignment wrong. I've never experienced an alignment shift truly ruining a game. But that's where I also just I have those mindsets where I think players have the wrong idea of like their character creation, because again, most players have a I've mentioned it before, but I forget the wording I've used before, but it's essentially there is a feeling that players have expectations, and they have, and they have expectations and they anticipate certain things. And I feel like there's too many players out there who have gotten too emboldened to say that if I don't get what I want, then it's not a good game. But to me, that's not necessarily representative of the game or the DM or the campaign, right?
Well,
Because
you
there
have
are
to make sure what you want is what the DM wants. Like, you have to make sure that
Exactly.
everybody's
We've
at
talked
the
about
table
that.
for the same reason.
It's very much collaborative based, right? But in my experience, when I see the players who are not having a good time or are getting thrown off by these things, one of two things is usually happening. Either the DM is kind of just railroading and doing whatever they want and just making a story that they want to play, and has really no care for like the actual like experience of the players and the PCs that are happening. Or it's the player, in my experience only, but it's the player just not getting what they want because it didn't turn out the way they want.
Sure.
It's a player not, because the way, and the reason why I say a lot of it's in my experience is it's the same way that those same exact players who reacted that way are the same ones who are mad when the spell doesn't work the way they interpreted it. It's the same reaction I see of no, that's the way I interpret the spell. When the DM doesn't agree, they're like, well, my DM just doesn't know how to play this game. That's like, no, you just aren't on the same page. But you can't just cut the game down and the DM and you can't just cut it all down and say this thing didn't work out for me, so I'm upset. And in my experience, that's more often what happens in these situations, because I see the same reaction when the players just don't get their way. And I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I also think that it comes down to how you interpret things, right? Like, I can play the same character with a different motivation. Like, it doesn't really change a whole lot. But if I am so stuck on the idea that my character had to turn out a very certain way, then you're not playing my game. You're not playing the story. You're playing what you built.
And I will say this, for me personally, as somebody who is very much somebody who likes to like get into the mind of their character and like become their character, when I have recently been going through a lot of like character creation with like new players that are trying to get into it, and I'm really trying to like get into their mind as to like what they're expecting, what they're looking for, what they're trying to get out of it. I think that a lot of the times there are people that do not understand those other ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Meaning, it's like, if you want me to play a character with a mindset that I don't understand, I don't know what I'm doing.
Which is fair. And
it's like,
totally
I don't know how to play that. I don't have a good time playing that. When I think about what I would have to do in these scenarios, I only see these limited things because I do not understand how to go about these other things. So I can very much see that taking, number one, removing their immersion and taking away from the enjoyable experience that they're having at the table.
Right.
If that's not, if they've been really working really hard to get into this character that they've been building, that they've been learning, that they've been slowly creating, and now all of a sudden they have to play a completely different character, because yes, they may be able to do the same things, but their motivations are completely different. Their understandings, their thought process is completely different. And it's like, how do I wrap my head around that? How do I operate in this brand new mindset that I'm not prepared for, that I don't know what that even looks like. Like, you and I, we've likely seen a lot of personality types, and we've been able to see things from a lot of different perspectives. So when you give these scenarios of like how I would go about doing things in different ways, it's likely because you've seen what it looks like to look at these things from different ways. But I definitely know there's a lot of people that don't. And I think that's why D&D is such an amazing tool, because it's an opportunity for you to explore that. Maybe not just in your own self, but just like watching other people at the table, exploring their characters and getting to see those things. But
a lot of what you're saying really comes down to the same thing that we echo all the time. It's that party cohesion. It's that table cohesion, right? Everybody should be on the same table with, on the same page with what's, available, right? brand new players who are barely getting a grasp of their character definitely shouldn't be subjected to major changes like that, like especially if they're new. Like I totally understand that, right? As a DM, you would, pick and choose. I just disagree fundamentally that the idea that changing your alignment somehow ruins the entire game. If that's happening, I honestly am saying that the player's too involved in their build and not enough in the story. But that's also because of fifth edition. Fifth edition doesn't have, it's not really based around a story. Like the story doesn't really evolve the game.
I'll say
game doesn't even evolve the story. Like they
fifth
kind of
edition
operate.
just doesn't, with the exception of some few mechanical, they don't really use alignment for anything.
So that's why I don't buy that changing the alignment ruins it. Yes, to the right person, it could be a challenge. But for someone who's played a lot of different characters, unless you're just like, I can't play the character the way I perfectly envisioned from start to finish, it's like, then you're not playing the story, in my opinion. And that may be a hot take. But my hot take is if you're so worried about seeing your character through from start to finish the exact way that you built it, I'm not interested, because that's more of a fifth edition way of playing, but that has nothing to do with my story then.
The question is, do you already have a story that this character is, or are they experiencing a story right now?
Yeah.
Like if imagine you think about any famous character, Naruto, right? Naruto has a story. Are you walking into D&D creating a level 1 Naruto expecting to have Naruto's story, and anything that doesn't align with Naruto's story, you're mad that isn't what you wanted it to be? That's hard. That's hard for anybody to embody, even if you have a one-shot style, like Naruto style. You're not going to have the exact same experience that Naruto had. You're going to have a unique one. And so unless you're prepared to experience the world that you're literally going through, because there is unknown in front of you. It's the whole purpose of having players versus a DM. If everybody knew everything that was happening, then everyone would be the DM. Yeah. It'd just be like 5 DMs just telling a collaborative story. Like, that's great, but that's not what's happening.
Sounds kind of basically what sounds like Daggerheart actually is.
Daggerheart?
the new thing from was it Dimension 20?
Is that where it's from? That's from Dagger.
I think it's Dimension 20.
That's Dimension 20 that put that out?
Yeah.
Because I've been hearing something about like some other new TTRPG system that people have been talking about that's a lot simpler, more basic. I don't know exactly how you would put it, but
yeah.
I didn't realize that's what that was.
Crawford and Perkins. Jeremy Crawford from 5e, like the granddaddy of all 5e. What is it, Tim Perkins or something, for basically the other like artistic creator. Yeah, they both left D&D to go to Daggerheart. They turn sides, which I honestly I am finding this we will finish your cart, just give me a minute. I find this absolutely hilarious, because watching, I love always being that person who, regardless of how involved I am, I always find myself, or I always view myself as the person viewing things from the outside.
Sure.
Like, no matter how involved I am in the D&D community, when I watch how it like reacts to things, I always feel like I'm an outsider, because I never really like am that deep in it.
Have that much stock in it necessarily.
It has been hilarious the last 2 days. After months, because the more you dive in, you get more of these opinions. After months of finally realizing and just seeing just how much of an issue people have with like Crawford, all the people who are like, Crawford,
do they?
Oh yeah, there is such a giant sect who just does not like anything that he said. They don't like his takes. They don't like his
Crawford rulings were like lightweight.
Because he was the one who was writing the rules. But a lot of people said that he didn't know what he was doing. There's a lot of people out there, like if you go on Reddit, there are so many people who tear Crawford up for his rulings, and they don't like how his interpretations are. They don't like the same things that it's all that there's a lot going on with that, which I found hilarious, because the moment that it was announced that he was going to Daggerheart, nothing but praise. They're like, oh my God, it's going to be, Daggerheart's going to be so much better now. Oh my God. And it's just like, weren't you all saying that he was ruining D&D? And now you guys can't get enough of the fact that he's coming to your new team. I don't know. I just don't understand that it's like, he ran D&D to the point to where everyone hated him, but now everyone praises the fact that he left D&D to go to this new game they all want to play. I'm confused. I am curious though. Daggerheart sounds fascinating. It sounds like it's trying to, I don't know. I don't know what it's trying to do. and I'm really curious to see what audience it pulls because I really don't understand exactly who it's trying to pull. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really sure which TTRPG niche it's trying to fill. So I'm really curious about it.
I don't know. I still find it so interesting. Like you have D&D first all the way up to 5th edition, then you have Pathfinder, then you have Daggerheart, then you have like all these different like lateral theoretically move, and I'm like, for me, like I feel very similar to you. I'm always on the outside looking in, but that's because I have no skin in any of these games. I use D&D the same way most people use Kleenex.
Yeah, it's
right?
a tabletop.
It's just a T. And so if I like the way you roll for attacks better in that T, I will steal it and I will put it. I'm still gonna call it D&D though.
And that's the thing too, is like there's definitely two types of players. That the people who I mean, well, there's multiple layers to it, right? There's the people who dedicate to one brand. There's people who dedicate to the TTRPG concept, and then there's people like us who we don't really dedicate to anything. We just we liked the concept and then just made our own story and then kept playing the same story.
It was kind of like that TikTok you made the other day asking what rules did you think were.
Oh yeah, that was earlier today. Yeah, the rules you thought were official,
but found out
but weren't.
All of them are not. All of them are not official. They're all ones I fucking made up just because that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing is yeah, it's just so funny, and that's why I always just like to just take the neutral standpoint, because like you said, I have no skin in the game. High Point's my deal. Like I D&D could fall off the map tomorrow. Guess what? I was playing D&D long before it was on the map. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried if D&D falls off tomorrow because High Point will still exist. I don't care if everyone hates D&D tomorrow. Like High Point's its own thing at this point.
Unless they purge the internet from all D&D content magically overnight, who cares if everybody else is playing it? Like,
yeah. And that's just me. Is like if you like playing all the TTRPGs and learning the new mechanics and finding like, oh, this one does this really well and I play this one over here for this, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't have the time to learn new mechanics, to get into a brand new game, to play it a handful of times, to go to a different one. I'd much rather play a game that I fell in love with. I have a story that is consistently growing. And if I don't like it, like you said, if I don't like a mechanic, I'll change it. I don't want to change an entire game set, an entire story just to find a mechanic.
When it comes to these new things and the mechanics, the only thing that I do is I will explore the mechanics. I'll read the rule books. I'll see what it says, and I'll just take the stuff I like and I'll throw it on the thing that's how I try it out. Oh, I tried it out for a while. I didn't like it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take it back out and put it back the way it was. Like,
and it's funny because there are people out there who think, you know, if you have too many homebrew rules, you need to change TTRPG. It's like, but no TTRPG fits what I'm trying to do. That's the point. Like no TTRPG
I will
does
change
what
the
High
TTRPG.
Point...
It's now called the Cineverse. That's the name of the TTRPG.
And that's kind of okay. Like I don't know if you've noticed this or anybody who's been following me on TikTok. That's kind of the new brand shift that I've done. I've gone basically away from branding everything D&D, and if I talk about it, it's just in a general TTRPG or High Point setting because, yeah, it's like the landscape is just too weird, and people get too personal when they hear a name. Wow,
it's true.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Is like too many people get like way too,
and I'm like, why, bro?
that's exactly what it is.
Pain. I guess so. It's so wild. Absolutely wild. But
yeah. Anyway, let's finish this thing real quick. So we had the last one.
Go over the aura for the last one.
Yeah. That was the you get basically you get inspiration and then you also get the attack of saving throw.
Okay.
+1 to attack and saving throws. So we have the final legendary action of the balance, moral inversion. Once a creature or one creature must succeed a DC 17 charisma save, or have their alignment flip for an hour. Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. And then the balance, all creatures within 20 feet must roll an additional die on attack rolls and use the lower. Oh, okay. So damage. Well, honestly,
so that means everyone's got disadvantage.
I would have done that for damage on attack because that's basically saying everyone has a disadvantage.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that been for damage, not for attack. Basically, you have disadvantage on the damage.
Okay.
I think that just would have sounded more cool. It would have been a little bit different, you know.
But it says all creatures. That includes your allies.
Yeah, that's just everybody. Everyone's at disadvantage next to you. which I do like that. I do prefer it's everyone if it's something that big. But I think damage would be a little bit different, a little bit more unique. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So I think, for the official review, we'll end it there. But I did want to go back to one quick question that that Cart had earlier. They were talking about being able to, like as the fight went on, if you were going to fight this thing, to make it more powerful, like the more damage it took, it would have, like, say with like Splinter, and have more access to like different powers.
Okay.
So I kind of liked that idea, but what I was kind of thinking about that Cart in terms of how you would go about, say, splintering it and making it more, is when I think of a playing card, it's a tarot card, a playing card. I kind of always think of, like the four corners, or it has like the two numbers, usually has like a couple things. So I would choose a number, one, or I would choose a number between like 2 and 5. Most likely, I would either do 2 or 4 personally. And I would say I would break that into even chunks of percentage of their life, right? So depending on how much hit points it has, if like it has 200 hit points, I would say that, at, if you want it like 4, if you wanted it to build up to like having 4 options, then at 50% health, it gains 1. At 20, or at 75% health, it gains an additional ability. At 50% health, it gains an additional ability. And at 25% health, it gains additional. That's how I probably would do it, is step it that way, to where I kind of like the idea of it getting more powerful because it is kind of weak, but at that particular case, it's also something really strange. So I kind of would want it to go, like, if we're going to do that, just go full send, do like let it upgrade 4 times. So you first get this thing, it only has 1 legendary action. A little bit through the battle, it suddenly gets a second one. You get it halfway down. Now it has all 3 of its legendary actions. And then when it gets close to death, now it has a 4th legendary action. So a little bit more crazy. And I would probably only add the legendary actions and not the auras. I would say only 1 aura at a time, because some of those are pretty chaotic.
Okay.
But I would continuously add.
I think it would be cool to have options of auras that it could switch between.
Oh yeah, it would still have all of the same auras. It could switch 1 aura active at a time, but it would have 4 cards legendary active at all time, and then of those 4, you could have any of the auras active at once.
Got you.
So something like that would be it. Did I miss? Was that the one cart, or did I miss another one? Because I think that was the one that I remember you talking about, was how to make it more powerful that way. But if you have another question, let me know. Overall, I think this is really cool. I think my biggest issue with it is it's just a little bit complicated for an NPC. It's a little bit complicated to be something that you wouldn't build into the campaign, which just makes it more difficult to pick up. Like, if I imagine I'm thumbing through a website or a book, a monster manual, and I come across this, right? Boom, Decker, add this to your campaign, friend or foe, and I'm reading it. At what point do I just realize I'm like, there's too much work for me to make this work?
Sure.
Whereas if I read this and been like, man, this really queer creature who's constantly just acting different, hey, that's cool for me as a DM. I don't have to pay attention to a personality. It can act different every single time they meet it. That's kind of cool. Okay, boom, it has 13 powers or cards it can throw. Okay, I'm down for that. Like, that would feel a little bit more approachable than an NPC that I would try to indulge in constantly
find a way to insert it into the campaign or whatever
in order to get the most out of it. And that's me. Because maybe someone read this and go, holy crap, these are great ideas that I don't have to think of. Now I just have a permanent NPC. But that's kind of what it feels like. It's more of a list of NPCs than it is a one person.
Okay.
And I think that's just my initial thing, is if I were a DM looking for inspiration, I feel like this would just be too much. As someone who loves a very enriched lore and a very enriched environment to game into, as a player, I think this is one of the most fascinating NPCs I've ever come across.
Sure.
Like, if I met this in game, this would probably be very quickly one of my favorite NPCs, especially if it's voiced and role played very correctly.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that this would very quickly go to the top of my list for favorite NPCs that I would ever like game with.
Sure.
So that's kind of a dichotomy, right? But it's mainly because in the proper setting that deserves to show this off, it would be great if I had long enough to interact with them multiple times, get to see this, understand it, and see how it interacts in the world. Great. I just don't think enough DMs are doing that kind of gameplay to justify saying that this should be out in the world as it is. I think if you want more people to use it, make it more succinct. Make these just a list of powers that they have. Maybe it's, again, a random thing where he can just change at will and it's random. Maybe he can throw the cards. Those are just all my initial things. Is I love the idea, and even in High Point, I'd run it probably similar to this. I probably wouldn't have everything a static personality, but it would be very close to this. Something that has a fractured mind, maybe has a few different memories, actually changes personality. I do like that idea. I just don't know if I would do it one for every card.
Right.
I think I would turn the cards into powers, but I really did like the idea because I'm thinking of how High Point would work. If a deck of many things became intelligent, it doesn't necessarily automatically gain control of all of its faculties.
Sure.
So the idea of the randomness really resonates strong with me. This idea that if these were powers or cards that he could throw, I like the idea that even the deck itself doesn't have control.
Right.
And that's where my mind goes for how I would run it.
Okay.
Is I feel like, yeah, just great idea, but I feel like it's too much to integrate if you're not full send on this being like a main NPC for you.
Right.
So that would be my thing. And then, of course, I mentioned before in the very beginning, potentially just making this a whole legion. Like, these are 13 warriors, and the last one is either a random one of these that's boosted or an amalgamation. Maybe the final boss is you roll a d4 or you roll like four of these, and it's a conglomeration of 4 of the previous ones you fought.
Right.
Or 3 or something like that. So a lot of different ways you can do it. I find this really fascinating. I find it really creative. And I also think that for creative DMs out there, there's so much potential in this idea.
Agreed.
I just think it's a little intimidating.
At first, I can totally see that 100%. So, okay. I don't disagree. I think when I look at this, I am definitely inspired a lot that there's a lot of cool things in here. There are a lot of things that are done very uniquely and that I really enjoy. I love the idea of having this entity that's just kind of like out there floating in the world, who knows what its intention at any given point in time is. Like, it's almost kind of like a plot device in the sense that, like, who knows, like, maybe for 7 days this thing was out here just being wild and chaotic and sowing dissent, and then all of a sudden it completely like changed what it was doing and now is off doing something else and is helping somebody and making things better. And like you're almost like following behind this thing, like seeing like this trail of like beauty and carnage all at the same time, and you're like, is this even the same entity? And you like literally think that you're after so I love what you can do with it, and I hear what you're saying. But for me, the way I would take this, just because, just like we talked about, like, I cannibalize everything. I would likely, like, I like this enough that I would find a way to put this in my world.
That's
to like
great.
to put these, like, to put this in a way that would work for me, that would make most sense. I might change some things, I might do things different, but like I feel like it has that type of value.
I think it does, and that's what I'm saying. I think for the right DM, 100% has so much potential. I'm not as confident that there's that many DMs out there that would take the challenge.
They're trying to do it the same way. Yeah.
A couple things from cart. We did get an older version of this, so there are a couple scale differences, but a couple of things that we didn't get in this particular build is that all of the personalities are self-aware, and some of them are aware that they are part of a larger whole, and some of them are intended to want, and some of them are intended to not want to be around the party. So it really is. It's not meant to be just acts different. It really could be there helping you, healing you, and out of nowhere just one day not care or even remember you, or you're its mortal enemy, or suddenly it's friendly to you and it stays friendly to you until you realize that it made a deal with the BBEG and it's different personality, and this personality has just been waiting to come out to be a spy. Oh, that would be a great way to imagine writing this thing so where it doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know, but some of the personalities have caught on. So imagine you're like tracking down the rogue and he's going into like the seedy bar. He's having these secret conversations and he leaves. You lose track, but out of nowhere you stumble upon the paladin. You're like, well, let's follow this paladin because he has the same symbol on him. And then the paladin's doing great things. You're like, this can't be our guy. And then all of a sudden you lose track of the paladin. And then something major happens, and there's a barbarian across town causing chaos. And you're like, what is like, and you think that like it's a party of all like the same organization because they all wear that same symbol or the same color until you realize you've just been following somebody, like an entity that basically is operating on split personalities.
Sure.
It has no idea what it's done. Some of the personalities do, but they never let on.
Yeah.
Like that could be another way to really represent all of these is, like you said, just have it be one of those things the party always sees the aftermath and they're just like, what is this that we are following? Or how is it possible that this thing just always happens around us? Even make an NPC take this one other step further. Make this like a Jekyll Hyde situation where you have just a random NPC in your group, just a permanent NPC, normal, just regular or like nonchalant character, maybe has like some abilities, low level character kind of thing.
Sure.
But like at night or on a full moon or something, it like shifts personalities and the deck wakes up. And one of the personalities takes over for that night. So it's like the party, every day they wake up or every couple of days they wake up, something's different, but they don't ever know that it's actually like one of the people in the group causing it.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of different things that you could do. Like I said, with the right DM, this could go very, very far.
You do a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say that it's for high point, it will like it definitely gets the inspiration point for sure. I think has a lot of potential, but I do have to say that in its current form, I feel like it's just too complicated and there's too much unknown as a DM. Because the idea is this thing is so chaotic, I don't even know what's gonna happen. That's also intimidating as a DM.
That's fair.
Like it's one thing to have the dice tell the story and to have a little bit of randomness, but this entire character is a ball of random.
This definitely feels like one where
higher grade.
I personally would control the randomness of it. Like I'm not gonna.
It would be random to my players. It would not be random to me. And it would still be random in how high point works, but I would not. The DM would still be aware of what's happening.
Yeah, like it would have to be, it would have to fit what needs to happen in the world. Because I will say, this is personally to my world, like my world wants to be right.
Yeah.
It wants to be right. And so a lot of the times, like things will come together to be what needs to be so that things flow in the way that they're supposed to be. And I feel like that is a valuable thing to have. It's like, it's not necessarily like you're manufacturing fakeness, but you are bringing all the pieces that were brought together by your players, by you, by everyone else, and they are finding a way to work together appropriately. Like I even tell my players when they're creating their characters, it's like, you need to find a reason that you're here in this adventuring party, because a lot of the times people are just like, oh, I want to do what I want to do. Like you get those videos all the times of people saying, oh, that's just what my character would do. And you're like, so basically what you're saying is you don't care about anybody else's fun. You just want to do whatever the heck you're like. That's how you get situations like that, is when people are there for themselves and not specifically trying to find a reason to work with this party. And I feel like the same is true for the DM. Like if the DM's just out there trying to do their own thing, saying screw the party, I don't care what you're here for. I mean, look what you ended up doing for Vixie and I. Like you created an entire campaign based upon what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so it
wasn't just like a one shot that I had to find out where high point I could accomplish.
That's exactly right. It's you found where it belonged in the world, and then we went down that road. And so that I find very valuable.
Interesting. So I am kind of looking through some of like the intended like suggested options here for the adventure hook, finding pieces of fragments and then having to like collect
pieces
them all.
Fragments,
like 13 fragments, like each card, like you almost have to gather them all up.
Oh,
as an option. And then once put together, you could like bring him to you could actually like form him, which would be interesting.
The creature or whatever.
Oh, there's another idea as a play. Like I don't know how you would do this as a playable character, but another way to do this as a campaign idea. You start the campaign with the ultimate quest, whether you're established adventurers or whatever, but you make sure the quest is that you have to help this person, right? And kind of like the world ending situation or a fifth element situation. This is this is presented as like the supreme being, right?
Okay.
You're introduced to Decker, but he's empty. He's literally a shell. So at first you meet him, it's almost like a mindless NPC, like has nothing behind the eyes, kind of just does what it's told, kind of
Okay.
just is literally a shell. And then you're told that you have to, like, this kind of like the fifth element, right? You were told this supreme being will save the world. And then you have to go and track all the fragments. And every time you give him a fragment, he becomes more whole. So the first time you give it to him, he actually now can talk and only has like one base personality.
Sure.
But still a little bit dumb, can do only a little bit. Then you give him another card. And all of a sudden he knows a little bit more and can do a little bit more. And as you progress, he becomes more and more powerful and actually more and more helpful.
Imagine like
campaign.
He doesn't even know what he's about, and you just start collecting, and then like
you're telling the story
as he gets more pieces, he starts remembering or revealing like what his purpose is, or like what he's actually trying to do. Or that would be a very interesting like whole plot line to run a campaign off of.
So yeah, I do like the fragment idea, because that could be that could be so many different options. Hell, that could be the time frame. Like, let's say you want to do a one shot, and you're like, hey guys, we have 15 gaming sessions, right? Like a one shot kind of thing where it's like, I say one shot, but I doesn't say they one session, but it's like you have this many sessions at the end, like, every session is like a month or whatever. But like you say at the end of this time, like at the end of the year, in game, if this creature's put back together, end of the world. And the whole point is the whole campaign is to try and stop certain groups from obtaining these cards and bringing them back together.
Sure.
So some of them you'll fail and the card will get brought back together, and some of them you'll succeed and you'll keep the card for yourself. And then at the end, the BBEG battle is you versus Decker, however complete he is. But the cards you have would be like disadvantages you can give on him.
Oh, I thought you were talking about there'd be like two entities, and you'd have like the anti-Decker.
You could even do that, like it's a race.
That's your Decker, that's our Decker,
Bro, could you imagine that, where it's like it's a race to figure out if the
and there's an odd number of cards, so one person's gonna have more at the very least.
That could, yeah. The shifting deck. There you go. So I like this. I like the fragment thing could definitely work out. Here's all of the which identity you would get. I kind of like how you broke that down a little bit. Let's see. So when decks collide, the paradox of many fates. In most world, the deck of many things is a singular creation. However, there in this intended, there could be more. And what happens when two or more, like what happens when Decker meets a deck of many things? Like what happens if Decker gets to pull from another deck of many things? And what if Decker uses a wish to make that deck of many things intelligent?
I totally look at it like if Decker pulls a card from the deck of many things, that card is not added to your deck. You almost like absorb that shit.
Man, can you imagine that's the game? What if that's the campaign? You're stopping Decker from finding
decks of many things and just adding cards to his deck.
Or what if he does the same thing? He can make them alive. So you're stopping him from making more.
Basically reproducing. Wild.
Whole thing is just if he can.
Wild.
Like maybe his special power is that he can indefinitely draw from any deck of anything. So all he has to do is wait till he gets the wish. So if he gets a hold of it, all he's doing is drawing until he gets a wish.
I like the idea that the second you wish for it to be like sentient, it scatters and you have to bring it back together for it to actually be a thing.
Ooh,
so, almost like the Dragon
cool.
Balls, when like you make your wish, when you do the thing, then they all go away and then you have to like bring them back together in order to actually get it to be a thing.
Yeah, I like that multi-staged aspect. That's cool. Oh man, you can make the BBEG a lich trying to make a sentient deck of many things as their like, because think about a lich, right? The lich just wants to be super powerful. Imagine if their goal was like, I want a deck of many things to be my assistant. So that's what the lich is trying to do.
Wow.
So he has an entire eternity to he did it, and now he's trying to regather him because that's what has to be done. Once he regathers it, Decker comes alive. So you're trying to stop the lich from creating Decker. But that's the fun part. What if you have it the option to where it is a pass fail? You could win or you could fail. So what if if you fail and the lich does bring Decker together and then it randomizes the personality and it's on your side? So the Lich finally brings it together, and the
What if
the
when he
Decker's like,
finally brings them together, he uses him and turns Decker into his phylactery?
oh damn.
That would be wild. That would
Yeah.
be
This is a great tool for DMs. It's the complicatedness, right? It's just the amount of what you have to monitor in order to make this work. But this is great. And then what happens when there's more than one deck? There are echoes of the original. So some decks are imperfect reflections of Decker's soul. So it's kind of almost like those are just versions of him. So drawing from a minor deck causes a fracture in fate. Multiple draws may summon
I'm gonna go refill
pieces
my
of
water.
Decker.
I'll be right back.
Too many decks can create reality chaos. Okay. It's recursive awakening when Decker raises one of his originals. Okay, so that's what we were just talking about. Basically being able to make more. 3 possible outcomes. Every PC within a mile is affected. Suddenly vanish, die, or gain boons. Spells may be reversed. Wild magic storm. Decker splinters into 2d4 echo deckers. Jeez. Rebirth merges with the deck. His true form is revealed. Becomes a legendary creature of fate. Drawing from all 22 cards as shifting. Wow. Just basically becoming like an angel at that point. Once per round, he draws the cards as a bonus action, at least in one random chaotic effect. The draw that never ends, the deck shattered. Every card becomes a sentient creature in the world, manifesting as an avatar of their theme. He ceases to be, but now 13 to 22 mini deckers roam the land, each with one piece of the soul. That's actually a really cool concept. I like that. And they may have to like fight. Okay. Last draw. There's a final card Decker is never drawn because it was never written. Players may discover a piece of it in Ancient Prophecies. When drawn by Decker, one of two things happen. All deck across the planes vanish. Fate is free, chaos dies. Decker becomes the final god of chance. The world becomes a living game of cards. That's fascinating. Curious how you would like make those make sense to the players in game. While turning into an actual demigod. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna say that this has a lot of potential, but definitely have to realize just how much would be done. But yeah, I think it's pretty solid of an idea. I think I'm teetering because I guess again the score isn't about what I think overall. It's just compatibility. So
Sure.
compatibility wise, it'll get a 7 because it's awfully close. It's not the way that I would go about doing it for high point, but it ticks all the boxes.
Sure.
You know,
Most definitely.
It's just it the way it's written doesn't operate the way high point would make sense. This would stand out in high point as odd.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it has any issues. It doesn't have any balancing issues. It's super creative. Almost anybody can use it. I think the biggest concern is that it's just too complicated and very intimidating.
Okay.
For like the non-creative or high-profile DMs that would be able to take this and just run with it. But otherwise, solid. Very, very solid.
All right.
So
7 out of 10. That is not bad.
No, not bad at all.
True that.
Thank you
True
all so
that.
much. We do appreciate you guys. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope you guys have a great week ahead of you. We'll be back on Friday, but we might be on throughout the week. So if you do see us, let us know. Hop in chat, drop a like and an emote. That would be really great. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your night, y'all. Cheers.
Deuces, my friends.